Chapter 1137. Do you think it's suitable? The girl had the special style of a seaside fishing village, simple yet tolerable, like a sky full of stars, and the food in front of him was really fragrant, which made Momo swallow his saliva. Thank you. Momo nodded. Though he was hungry, he didn't gorge himself. Instead, he ate a few mouthfuls. It tastes good. Did you cook it yourself? The girl nodded with a smile, looking a bit shy. She was in the prime of her youth. She seemed to recall something, saying, "Oh, I washed your clothes this morning and hung them outside. I'll take them back after they dry in the afternoon." "I'm really sorry." Momo apologized. "The weather was fine when I came here yesterday, but it rained heavily not long after I got off the bus." The girl tucked her hair behind her ear, telling Momo that this kind of weather was very common at the seaside. She didn't continue to disturb Momo's meal, but started to clean up this family-run hotel. Momo inquired that the girl's name was Louis Yun. Her father was Louis Hai, her mother was Luo Ayu, and she had a sick grandfather. A very common family in a fishing village, at least it looked like that. After Louis Yun left, Momo spat out the food he had just eaten. He took out a talisman from his body, clamping it between his fingers. The talisman burned instantly, turning into a spiritual light, scattering on the food on the table. For a while, there was no reaction. "I hope it's a well-behaved monster," Momo murmured, suddenly feeling it was a waste to spit out the food. The taste was really good. Simple ingredients could make such a taste. This was the second day since he came to the seaside fishing village. The small seaside place was very tranquil, with few tourists, or in other words, it was hard for outsiders to integrate into this isolated place. Louis Village looked so lonely on the edge of the cliff. Louis Yun's home was even closer to the cliff, and there were still several kilometers to walk to the village, which made it even more lonely. Momo didn't forget why he came here, the legend of the sea monster. After a few days, he still couldn't find any concrete clues. He only occasionally heard some taboo old stories from the villagers. Whenever he tried to get more information from the elders in the village, they would always turn around and leave or scold him as if he was an evil spirit and drive him away. Within a few days, everyone in the village knew that there was a young man who came to inquire about the past. Therefore, when Momo walked on a small path, he always met strange and vigilant eyes. When Momo thought that the legend was just a legend, a young man appeared in front of him. He also came in the rain, awkwardly pushing open the door of Louis Yun's hotel. Unlike him, who dyed his hair blonde and made it seem to be an outdated trend, this young man, who was as young as him, had long hair and casually tied it behind his head. The moment he entered the door, Momo sensed the special thing of Taoist cultivators from his body, the wave of spiritual power. The sky was completely dark, and the hotel, halfway up the mountain, seemed to be in the middle of a storm. The old door in the room was creaking because of this. The young man with tied hair also noticed Momo, who was eating at the table. His eyes brightened, coming to Momo. "Can I sit down?" Momo made a gesture of please. He even poured a cup of hot tea for the young man to drive away the cold. The young man politely received it with both hands. But when he held the teacup, he found the teacup in Momo's hands was steady, as if it had taken root. The young man smiled faintly, gradually exerting his strength. The owner of the hotel, who was dozing off in front of the counter, curiously looked at the hands of the two young men. At this moment, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the room. The owner of the hotel was startled and subconsciously patted her chest. At this time, the two young men had separated. They just sat facing each other. "Momo, Yi Fei." They looked at each other and smiled. When Momo was cultivating on the mountain, his favorite book wasn't the scriptures hidden in Dragon Tiger Mountain, but a martial arts novel that his master used as a pillow. He didn't like the plot of killing people in the novel, but he liked the story of chivalry. He felt immortal cultivation was ethereal, and love in Jianghu was more down to earth. Yi Fei was a master at the same age and cultivation level as him. The reason why he called her a master was because Momo thought he should be a master. Otherwise, how could he travel in Jianghu? Yi Fei's appearance was indeed what Momo had been dreaming of. In the wind and rain, in the shabby hotel, the two masters inadvertently tested each other and then introduced themselves. Yi Fei was a disciple of a hidden sect. She had been out for training for some time. This time, she came here because she heard some weird legends in this remote fishing village, so she wanted to find out the truth. Tianshi Taoism of Dragon Tiger Mountain, Brother Mo. So you came from a famous sect. Sorry for my rudeness. Yi Fei was gentle and elegant, like a young master in a Jianghu novel. You flatter me. Brother Ye's sect is not bad. Even though the other party had only mentioned his sect, he really did not have any impression of it. Even though Taoism had declined, there were many branches of Taoism in the world. Even the older generation might not know all of them, let alone the so-called hidden Taoism. While talking, Yi Fei suddenly lowered her voice. Since Brother Mo chose to live here, have you noticed the monster chi here? Momo knew what Yi Fei was talking about. Then he smiled. There's a little girl in this house with a bit of monster chi, but she shouldn't be the sea monster we're looking for. If they are little demons that know their place and live an honest life, we will not care. Yi Fei didn't say anything, but asked the landlady to bring a bottle of local home-brewed wine to drink with Momo. Maybe it was because there were only him and his master on Dragon Tiger Mountain, so he didn't see his peers. Yi Fei's appearance seemed to make up for the lack of friends since childhood. Momo, who had a good tolerance for alcohol, was a little drunk that night. When he woke up, it was already late in the morning. The sudden storm had stopped when he woke up, but the blue flowers in the garden downstairs were still wet with last night's rain. But Momo didn't find Yi Fei. According to the landlady of the hotel, she went out early in the morning. Maybe she went to inquire about the news? He didn't have time to tell her that he had inquired about a lot of things these days, but got nothing. Momo patted his head with annoyance, thinking that he was too happy and forgot about the business. He planned to go out to find Yi Fei, but he saw the little girl being scolded by the landlady at the door. There was a red mark on the little girl's arm, and her eyes were red. Momo couldn't stand it, so he coughed and walked away. Then the landlady Luo Ayu restrained herself and left quickly after scolding the little girl in a low voice. The little girl lowered her head, picking up the things on the ground. She glanced at Momo shyly and turned around. She was going to dry the clothes, but she accidentally knocked them over and got scolded. This person isn't your biological mother, is she? Momo's voice suddenly sounded behind the little girl, which made the little girl tremble slightly before stopping. Momo walked up to her. Lu Yun's face was a little pale. What did you say? How could she not be my biological mother? The little girl shook her head. Momo suddenly grabbed Lu Yun's wrist, as fast as lightning, which made her feel pain. Momo said in a low voice, Believe it or not, I can make you show your original appearance right away. I'd like to see how an ordinary person with a bad face could give birth to a little monster. Golden light flashed in his eyes. His face was solemn like a dharma. I don't know what you're talking about. Let go of me. The little girl was scared and flustered. Still don't want to admit it? Then don't blame me. Momo's face darkened, his voice cold. Though he just came down from the mountain, he had killed some man-eating little monsters and some ferocious ghosts, so he had some killing intent on his body. Don't. The little girl trembled out of fear. Don't. I didn't mean to lie to you. I just don't know how to say it. Then say it. Momo suddenly let go of Lu Yun's wrist. But you'd better be honest. Because I'm an exorcist. Don't do it here. The little girl suddenly looked up at the attic behind her. Follow me. Golden Flower Aunt pushed the young man away in a hurry. She couldn't speak clearly. Go. I don't know anything. Don't ask me. Damn it. Why is there another person asking? Go. Wasn't this the third one? Yi Fei thoughtfully looked at the Golden Flower Aunt's expression. Then she formed a seal behind her back and snorted coldly. Golden Flower Aunt was stunned by the scolding, absent-mindedly. Yi Fei asked in a low voice, "Old lady, just tell me what you know about that year. I won't hurt you." The old man in front of him slowly talked about the past, the taboo things that the fishing village had done back then. Behind the hotel on the hillside, there was a small cabin used to store sundries and firewood. Louis Yun took Momo to this place and then rolled up her sleeves to her elbows. Then she saw some things that were different for looking for people. Scales. There weren't a lot of green scales, only a small area. They didn't even look ugly, just like decorations on her fair arms. I don't know what happened to me. Louis Yun sobbed. I was afraid at first, afraid that others would know about you. My mother isn't my biological mother. My father took her back. So your father is a monster? Momo frowned. There were many problems in the union between a human and a monster. Momo realized that he hadn't met the boss of this hotel, Louis Yun's father. I don't know. Louis Yun shook her head. Momo thought for a while, saying, "If you don't mind, give me a drop of your blood." Under Momo's serious gaze, Louis Yun had to find a wooden splinter, piercing her finger and dripping a drop of blood. Momo took out a talisman from where the blood dripped. The little girl didn't know what Momo was murmuring, but the talisman suddenly shone magically. "Well, you're a half-monster." After a while, Momo took back the talisman, staring at Louis Yun. "You're a half-monster. Your bloodline might come from your father or your mother. I'll know where your father is after I meet him. He drank too much and had a stomachache. Now he's recuperating in the clinic in the village. He hasn't come back for days." Louis Yun looked at Momo, asking nervously, What do you want to do?" Momo waved his hand. "A country has its own laws, and a family has its own rules. Don't worry, I won't kill a monster who knows its place. And we've made an agreement. But if I know you've hurt someone, don't blame me." Louis Yun stepped back in fright. Momo shrugged. "Don't worry, I've seen monsters living in the city who work hard to earn money to support their families. I'll say it again, I won't kill a monster who knows its place. Besides, I haven't fallen to the point where I need to get rid of a demon like you, who isn't a threat at all, to prove myself." "Really?" "I'll tell you after I meet your father." Momo shook his head. "Maybe your bloodline comes from your mother? Then your father might be a victim." The girl didn't speak. Momo glanced at her. Maybe she has thought a lot since she found her body was different from normal people? "Nothing for now." Momo smiled. "How about this? I'll keep it a secret for you for the time being, but you'd better pay more attention to it." Momo said seriously, "You're a half-monster, and you have more rationality than normal monsters. But you have the bloodline of a normal monster. When your rationality can't suppress the monster in your body, you'll probably lose control. For example, you'd better avoid your stepmother. Otherwise, she'll explode one day. But don't blame me if that happens." Louis Yun lowered her head, not daring to speak. He wanted to go down the mountain to find Yi Fei, but he was delayed by Louis Yun's matter. An afternoon had passed when Momo told the girl about the rules outside. At this time, Yi Fei came back. "Brother Yi, I'm sorry, I didn't expect to be so drunk." "Let's not talk about this," Yi Fei said. "Brother Mo, I found something when I went down the mountain today. Please take a look." "What?" Chapter 1138. Fairy. In Momo's room in the hotel, Yi Fei told him what she had heard. This iron box was found under the ruins of this fairy's home. It should be some kind of charlatan in the countryside before the Four Olds. Yi Fei expressed her opinion. In the old days, most of the people in the countryside were ignorant. Outsiders often used some small knowledge of chemistry and physics to fool the people. Momo rubbed his eyebrows, looking at Yi Fei with a strange expression. "Brother Yi, we're both cultivators. It's so weird to talk about chemistry and physics here." Yi Fei shrugged. "With the development of science, people gradually forgot about another kind of power, but I can't say whether it's good or bad." Momo was surprised. Why do you say so? Yi Fei smiled. Brother Mo, what do you think about the power of your dragon tiger mountain? Momo gave a start, frowning. My sect focuses on exorcising ghosts and demons. With the help of the talisman technique, my master said it's stronger than other orthodoxies. But Taoism is broad and profound, so it's hard to say which sect is more powerful. Yi Fei shook her head, saying indifferently, Brother Mo, just tell me, what do you think about the power of your Taoist technique? Momo was silent for a while. It's very powerful. Many techniques can't be used easily. Yi Fei nodded. That's right, Brother Mo. There are many branches of Taoism in the world. For thousands of years, the predecessors created and the descendants carried forward, making this system extremely complex and powerful. In ancient times, many disciples of Taoism had to persevere for dozens of years to get in touch with Taoist techniques, and it was very likely that they had only scratched the surface. But now, Brother Mo, when did you start to practice Taoist techniques? When I was 14, my master taught me the first Taoist technique, 5 ghosts transfer. Momo said casually, then waved his hand. The teacup on the table seemed to be held by something, slowly floating into his hand. Brother Mo, you're good at martial arts. Yi Fei smiled. Brother Mo, you've already started to practice Taoist techniques at 14 years old. I can only say that you're very talented, but it also proves the progress of Taoism. After thousands of years of condensing and summarizing, it was already able to allow the later generations to take fewer detours. Actually, it wasn't just Brother Mo. Many Tao sects had also started to let their young disciples cultivate Tao techniques. However, if you stop and think about it, this is probably a sign of the decline of the Tao sects. Brother Mo, do you understand what I mean? Momo thought for a while and frowned. You mean the Tao sects were prosperous in the past, so they didn't lack disciples. That's why they always let their disciples temper themselves. Before cultivating martial arts, they had to cultivate their minds first. Only when they were ready did they let go of the Tao cultivation. Now they've been forced to change their strategy? Do you know why? Yi Fei suddenly asked. Momo shook his head, subconsciously. Yi Fei sighed and said, in order to not let the inheritance be broken. Brother Mo, think about it. If we still follow the old way of cultivating the heart before cultivating immortality, how many years would we waste? Modern people are eager for quick success and quick benefits. How many people could calm down and meditate for dozens of years and cultivate qi day after day? I don't deny the existence of such people, and they are even the true successors of the Tao sects. But it's too hard to find such people. We have no choice. If we cut off the inheritance, we'd be ashamed of our ancestors. Therefore, we have no choice but to settle for the second best. If so, won't it cause the Tao heart to be unstable? Momo said solemnly, people can easily lose themselves because of great power. It's just like the science in the world today. Yi Fei said indifferently, the explosive development of science only happened in the past 100 or 200 years. But whether it's ability or power, it's focused on changing and even destroying the world. Now, it's already in the hands of most people. Brother Mo, do you think it's a good thing? Momo shook his head. Yi Fei sighed. The same goes for the Tao sections. They lowered the threshold to prevent the inheritance from being broken. Isn't it another kind of science? Brother Yi, you're worrying too much. Momo shook his head. Yi Fei said, Brother Mo, after the establishment of Xan, in order to prevent the evil cultivators from harming the common people, there was a large-scale extermination. Do you know that? Momo nodded. I heard from my master that Shinryu of Kelowna and Shinyuan Palace worked together to wipe out all the evil sects in Kelowna within a few months. All the evil cultivators were either crippled, suppressed, or killed on the spot. Yi Fei said, actually, many of these evil cultivators used to belong to orthodox Taoist sections. However, it was precisely because the Tao sect had lowered their threshold that they had gone astray. Since ancient times, there weren't many evil and evil sects. Demons came from the heart, and demons came from Tao. Momo heaved a sigh. I see. Yi Fei paused at this moment, and then said, however, even if the evil cultivators were basically wiped out, Xian still established the administration. In these decades, there were still many evil Taoists who abused Tao. Demons can't be eradicated. As long as there are evil thoughts in the heart, demons will appear. Momo sighed. So, Brother Yi, you said that even if cultivation is forgotten by the world, it's hard to say whether it's good or bad. Yi Fei slowly closed her eyes. This made Momo's heart heavy, but his master only asked him to go down the mountain to gain experience. It was too monotonous to only kill some evil spirits and disobedient little monsters. This kind of discussion with his peers seemed to be necessary, right? Demons came from the heart. Momo was moved, asking subconsciously, Brother Yi, if you meet a demon, what will you do? Yi Fei slowly opened her eyes, with cold light in her eyes, saying in a low voice, eliminate all evil. Since the degeneration of Tao sects is irreversible, we can only rely on the later generations to remove it bit by bit. When all the impurities are removed, it will be clear. Momo opened his mouth, but at this moment he wasn't shocked by Yi Fei's words, but the clarity in his eyes. After that, Yi Fei left with the box, saying that she would find a way to investigate the origin of the thing in the box. She also left some test tubes in the box for Momo. She probably thought that Momo might have a chance to investigate it. But in fact, they didn't have to separate like this. Momo actually thought that it was possible for them to cooperate in the investigation. He suddenly felt that he might be a rather eccentric person who was a loner. Recalling that Yi Fei had mentioned the name of his sect, Momo thought for a while before taking out his phone and calling Taoist Changha, who was far away in Dragon Tiger Mountain, who had led him to cultivate immortality. Momo looked at the convenient phone in his hand, muttering, "Where's science?" "Hello. Brat, what did you say?" "Old man, let me ask you something. Have you heard of the ultimate Tao sect?" "Ultimate ruins? What the hell? Never heard of it. Why do you suddenly ask about it?" Momo casually told him about his encounter with Yi Fei and the things that happened in the fishing village. "I don't have any impression of ultimate ruins. I just checked the dictionary of Tao sects. It's also recorded in it. But from what you've said, he seems to know a lot about Shenzhou. Logically speaking, it's impossible for him to not report to the administration. Could it be that he's really one of those secluded sects? Or perhaps, what are you talking about?" Momo said impatiently. "Old man, can you not speak in paragraphs?" Stinking brat, tell me everything you said in detail. Don't miss a single word. Recite." Momo wailed loudly, but still closed his eyes, recalling word by word. Taoist Changha didn't say anything for a long while. When Momo was about to lose his patience, Taoist Changha's voice came from the phone. "The younger generation wouldn't know about the annihilation of Demon Sect. Because we've made an agreement, we won't tell others about it. That guy is about your age, and he's from a secluded sect, so he should know about it. It's unreasonable unless..." "Unless what?" "Unless he's one of those evil cultivators that were annihilated." Taoist Changha's voice was a bit deep. There were many twists and turns in the annihilation. No one said that all the evil cultivators had been wiped out. Evil Tao cultivators are extremely cunning to begin with. It's not impossible for someone to secretly avoid a calamity. "Old man, this brother you doesn't look like one, does he? Like me, he also heard about the legend of the sea monster. So he came here to annihilate the demon. It's just my assumption. Anyway, this guy has a mysterious background. You should pay more attention to him and don't trust him easily." Momo nodded. Yi Fei came and went like a ghost, so Momo couldn't even grasp his whereabouts. Of course, there were other ways to track him. But Momo felt it was a bit offensive to track his whereabouts with Taoist magic arts. Anyway, he couldn't confirm Yi Fei's background. But there was one thing that could be put on the agenda. The little girl's father, Louis Hai, came back from the village clinic tonight. It was the first time that Momo saw this haggard, middle-aged man. Louis Hai's face was a bit pale because of the serious illness. After Louis Hai came back, he was scolded by his wife, Luoyu. Facing her mother's scolding, the little girl could only hide far away. She wanted to do something, but couldn't. Momo found the little girl, Louis Yun, boiling water in the kitchen. The little girl was a bit scared of this mysterious young man who had seen through her identity. She grabbed the corner of her clothes nervously, lowering her head and not daring to look at him. Momo sighed. He had seen a lot of monsters, but it was the first time for him to see such a weak one. He shook his head. Louis Yun, your father has come back. Do you still remember what I told you this afternoon? Louis Yun nodded and then shook her head, gritting her teeth. My father can't be a monster. So it's your biological mother who is a monster? Momo continued. The little girl wanted to say something, but she couldn't stand it and didn't say anything. Momo's voice became softer. Where did your bloodline come from? As long as you get me a drop of your father's blood, you'll know. It's not difficult for you, right? You also want to know your origin, don't you? Don't worry if your father is just an ordinary person. I won't do anything. Then if there's no such thing as if... Momo shook his head. Do you remember what I told you about the administration? They are all over the country. You just met me this time. If you meet them, it won't be so easy. Do you want to check it by force? Then, okay. Louis Iyun nodded. Momo smiled. That's good. At 2:00 tonight. Let's do it in the woodshed at the back. I'll wait for you. I'm going to send water to my grandpa. The little girl didn't nod. She just lowered her head, holding the kettle and trotting away. Momo watched the little girl running away. Suddenly, he patted his forehead and scolded himself. Actually, he could test the blood of this little girl's grandpa. Maybe this Louis Hai also had the bloodline of the monster race, and it came from the old man's wife? However, if that was the case, wouldn't it be more difficult to track down the culprit? Momo couldn't help grabbing his hair. But at this moment, lightning flashed several times outside the house, followed by a muffled thunders. The weather at the seaside is really unpredictable. Momo muttered as he thought of Yifei. I wonder if he has found something. I feel I'm enjoying the fruits of others' labor. Late at night, it rained heavily, washing everything away. A small figure took advantage of the umbrella and braved the strong wind to quickly walk to the door of the woodshed behind the house. He quickly pushed the door open and walked in. At this moment, lightning flashed and white light filled the woodshed. She saw a pale face in front of her. Ghost! The thunders covered her scream. Well, don't be nervous. It's me. Momo took out his cell phone, illuminating himself. He looked at Louis Yun, who was startled, apologizing. I was afraid of being discovered, so I didn't turn on the light. But I was bored waiting, so I sat for a while. Besides, you're a monster. Why are you afraid of ghosts? The little girl's face was pale, but she still didn't dare to look at Momo's face. She lowered her head. I've brought the thing. She seemed to be a little scared. She clenched a piece of dyed tissue tightly. Is this okay? Chapter 1139. Momo asked Louis Yun to bring her father Louis Hai's blood in the middle of the night to avoid trouble. But he didn't expect that someone would come here in such a bad weather. The footsteps were hurried and heavy. It didn't sound like someone who practiced martial arts, but an ordinary person. If he was caught with a young girl in such a place, he would be in deep trouble. Although he dyed his blonde hair a few years ago, he was still a Taoist in essence. He covered the little girl's mouth, and at the same time pulled her to a corner of the woodshed to hide. He also took away the little girl's umbrella. In the end, he even slapped the little girl. The wind from his palm raised the dust in the room and spread it over the water stain. It was done almost in one breath, and there was no sound at all. Momo was satisfied with his reaction. Sorry, I have to bear with it for a while. Even so, Momo tried his best not to touch her in the narrow space. The door opened, and someone came in. It was a middle-aged man. The man took off his raincoat with a gloomy face. At the same time, he took out a kerosene lamp from the corner of the woodshed and lit it. After that, the man sat down, lit a cigarette, and started smoking. The girl and Momo saw the man's appearance with the help of the lamp. The girl opened her mouth, seeming to recognize the man. "Do you know him?" The voice sounded in the girl's ears, but she didn't see Momo opening his mouth. "I have the ability to fight monsters, so do I. Don't make a fuss. Do you know him?" Momo's voice sounded in Louis Iyun's ears again. The girl nodded, looking around, dipping her finger in the water on the umbrella and writing on the floor. "Village party secretary, Secretary Wu." Momo frowned. Why did the secretary of Louis Village come here in the middle of the night? But it didn't take them a long time to be confused. Soon, another guest came. This time it was someone familiar to Momo and Louis Yun. She was the landlady of the hotel Luoiyu. "Alas, didn't I say I wouldn't come out tonight? Do you know how hard it is for me to come here in such bad weather?" A man's voice sounded. Then a woman's voice sounded. "That bastard suddenly came back today. I don't want to sleep with him. If you don't come, I'll go find you. You bastard, don't think you can eat it clean." How could this be? Rubbing against each other, panting. The sounds of pleasure gradually became louder, and the sound of the wind and rain almost covered up everything in this small house. However, the other two people who were hiding only felt tormented. Momo didn't know how she was feeling at this moment, but he felt very awkward. What should he do if he found out that his stepmother was having an affair with another man? Momo was also in despair. "Calm down. Remember what I told you." Momo had to calm himself down while reminding the little girl. At this moment, the monster aura in her body seemed to be increasing. Seeing this, Momo could only reach out his finger and point at her forehead, using a secret incantation to wake her up. But Louis Iyun's face was full of grief and indignation. Momo pretended that he didn't see it and continued, "They won't take long to leave if they continue like this. Let's go out after they leave, in case it's embarrassing for everyone." The Taoist priests of Dragon Tiger Mountain caught monsters, exorcised ghosts, and performed rituals. But they didn't catch adulterers. The joyful voices gradually subsided, and the man and woman panted with satisfaction. Just as Momo heaved a sigh of relief, the man and woman began to talk among themselves. "I want a divorce. I don't want to follow this good-for-nothing anymore. I didn't know this family is full of freaks when I married him. I can't stand it anymore. No, I'm going crazy." "Wait, what are you waiting for? Wait until you're transferred and then leave." "Let me tell you, no way. If you dare to leave, I'll go to your office and say we're having an affair. Don't make trouble." The man lit another cigarette and took 2 puffs. "Recently, there's a project to support the development of this area. A lot of land in the nearby villages will be expropriated. Although Louis Hai has no ability, the whole mountain belongs to his family. It's under his father, Louis Buhai's name. Do you understand?" "What do you mean?" "I think he's not willing to sell it. That won't do. This project is very big. I heard that the town government has found several big developers to turn this area into a seaside entertainment resort, investing billions of yuan. Your man's mountain is very valuable." "Oh, you're not lying to me." "Why would I lie to you? Stupid woman. Don't you know how much your man's net worth is? Do you think Louis Hai's house only has a broken hotel? I only know that after looking through the information of the village, the whole mountain belongs to your man. But it's weird, the villagers are so stingy. They actually gave Louis Hai such a big mountain. It seems to be to compensate for something. Anyway, those old bastards just don't want to say. But this bastard doesn't want to sell. We can't do anything." People always come up with ideas. I think, don't divorce. You'll have nothing if you divorce. According to the property law, if you don't divorce, you'll have a share of this land. Really, if I sell it, how much money can I get? It's hard to say. The price of the land can't be too high. There are many things that need to be done, but it's not a problem to sell it for at least a few million. After all, the location of this mountain is good. Developers will definitely invest here. A few million? My God, what did you say just now? I'll have a share? The premise is that he's willing to sell it. But I heard that this old bastard has lost his mind. It's hard to get him to sign it. After a while, a woman's voice suddenly sounded. Hey, if this old bastard is really dead, then will Louis High's signature be effective? What do you want to do? Anyway, this old bastard is just like this. He's harming people. Even if he's alive, he's better off dead. You don't mess around. We're after money, not his life. Harm? He's harming people if he's alive. You don't know because you haven't taken care of him. But I'm suffering every day. Besides, this old bastard is so old, and he's not in his right mind. Everyone knows that. Isn't it normal for him to take a wrong step and fall down the stairs and die? Momo felt something wrong while listening to them. These two people actually had the idea of murdering for money. But this moment, Louis Iyun suddenly rushed out. Her monster aura broke out instantly, and a sharp voice came out from her mouth. The sharp voice instantly shattered the glass of the window. The fierce wind blew in, blowing out the kerosene lamp instantly. Damn you! The moment the shrill cry sounded, Secretary Wu and Luo Ayu saw a black shadow rushing towards them. Under the thunder and lightning, they saw a green face full of scales. Ghost! The moment Secretary Wu saw the terrifying face, he was so scared that he fell to the ground and fainted. Luo Ayu, on the other hand, rolled and crawled out of the door with her legs wide open in horror. Bitch, I'll kill you! The sharp voice sounded behind Luo Ayu. She had no time to care about the wind, rain, thunder, and lightning and the mud all over her body. She only felt cold behind her. She rolled a few meters away, only to hear the sharp sound again. Luo Ayu was scared out of her wits. In a panic, she ran down the mountain without knowing where to go. In the room, Louis Iyun's back was pressed by Momo's palm, pressing her on the floor. Momo showed a solemn face, scolding in a low voice, Come! Louis Iyun was struggling desperately. Calm down. If you kill someone, your life will be ruined. They're just plotting, not doing anything to your family. You don't have to lose control. But if you lose control and kill someone, I'll kill you right away. Think about your dad and grandpa. Louis Iyun held her head in pain, wailing in a hoarse voice. You're a human, not a monster. Momo took a breath, turning over his palm, striking another seal on Louis Iyun's back. Remember, you're a human. Louis Iyun lost her consciousness, passing out directly. Momo sat down on the ground and glanced at the village secretary, who also fainted on the ground. He couldn't help frowning as he recalled the conversation between him and Luo Ayu. He sighed. Master is right. People's hearts are really cold. When Louis Iyun woke up, she was lying on the bed in her room. Momo was sitting beside the bed with his legs crossed. She sat up subconsciously, feeling dizzy as if her head was cracked and sewn up. You're awake? Momo opened his eyes slowly. Do you feel uncomfortable? Or do you want to vomit? Be careful. Your monster blood broke out suddenly. Although I suppressed it, but if there's a first time, there'll be a second time. You have to behave yourself. Louis Iyun gritted her teeth, grasping the corner of the sheet. My mom? Where's that woman? She ran away. Momo shook his head. She ran down the mountain. She might be scared badly, so she hasn't come back yet. As for that, Secretary Wu, he left in a flurry after waking up. You'd better not come back, the little girl said with resentment. The hatred in her eyes was scary, but Momo felt relieved inexplicably. She'd better not come back. This little girl was kind in the end. Don't worry about it, I'll deal with it. Momo shook his head. Although I'm not good at dealing with this kind of thing, it's better than you messing around. Well, I won't say more. As long as you behave yourself, I won't do anything to you. But no matter what reason you have, I'll kill you once you lose control and kill someone. He stood up. Have a good rest. Thank you. Momo suddenly stopped, saying in a low voice, Don't thank me. You should thank that lady. After all, she's the one who implemented the monster's residence management law. If it was in the past, she wouldn't be so kind. That lady? Just pretend you don't know. Anyway, you won't have a chance to see her. Momo shrugged. Anyway, I haven't seen her. Have a rest and calm yourself down. Momo closed the door, but didn't leave immediately. He leaned against Louis Yun's door and heaved a sigh. At this moment, he felt someone's gaze falling on him. At the end of the corridor, Momo looked over, seeing a pair of turbid eyes, an old man. He just stood there quietly, not saying a single word. He just looked at them like that. There was no expression on his face, as if he was thinking about something or not. When Momo wanted to ask something, the old man at the end of the corridor slowly turned around and walked back to the room step by step. Delirious, he should be Louis Yun's grandpa, Louis Buhai. Momo thought. He didn't chase after him. Thinking that Louis Yun still had the tissue with Louis Hai's blood on it, he went back to his room. Anyway, he had to do what he should do. Louis Hai, on the other hand, was probably tired after coming back. He slept like a log in his room and didn't know anything. Maybe he was more relaxed? In the wind and rain, two men were anxiously moving forward in the pouring rain. One of the men was carrying a third person on his back. He was using a raincoat to cover his body. The place they were rushing to was the only clinic in the village. Doctor! Doctor! Help! Doctor! Help! The two men rushed into the clinic, shouting in a hurry. At this moment, a man in pajamas came out. What's the matter? Brother Chao Sheng, help! Come and take a look at my aunt. I don't know what's wrong with her. The young man had a frightened look on his face as he put the person on his back down from the chair. Louis Chao Sheng, the only doctor in the village who had gone out for study, frowned and lifted the raincoat. He was startled at once. It was a creature whose hands and face were covered in horrifying keratin. It looked like a coral or a tree root. The village doctor was so scared that his face turned pale and he took 2 steps back. This is... Brother Louis Chao Sheng, can you cure her? The man asked in horror. Let's send her in first. Louis Chao Sheng calmed down. We have to see her first. I'll get the stethoscope from the room. Hurry up. Okay. We'll do it right away. The man hurried to send her in. Louis Chao Sheng ran to his office in a hurry, but he didn't expect that the light was on. Louis Chao Sheng pushed the door open, only to see a young man sitting on his chair, flipping through the documents. Who are you? What are you doing here? Louis Chao Sheng was shocked. The young man raised his head, looking at Louis Chao Sheng, saying expressionlessly, Before I answer your question, why don't you tell me, what's the matter with this medical report? Chapter 1140. Facing the mysterious young man who suddenly appeared in his office, Mr. Louis Chao Sheng was frightened. Then he became flustered because of the question he asked and the thing he was holding. Louis Chao Sheng took a deep breath. After calming down, he pressed the lock of the office door. Young man. Yi Fei glanced at Louis Chao Sheng with an expressionless face. He lifted an iron box from the floor under the table and put it on the desk casually. Louis Chao Sheng's face changed instantly. Yi Fei said indifferently, Still don't want to tell me? I found this thing in the ruins of an old house. The things inside seemed to be missing, and it was only recently that they disappeared. The soil covering it showed traces of being turned over. So I used some means to trace it and finally came here. Then I saw your interesting physical examination report. I don't know what you're talking about. Louis Chao Sheng's face darkened. Let's get straight to the point. Yi Fei stood up, throwing the report on the desk. The people in this village are all descendants of the monster race, right? It's said that there used to be a sea monster here. Are they the descendants of the sea monster? But if they are pure-blooded descendants of the monster race, they shouldn't be half monsters. How did the monster race reproduce here? Did they rob humans to cultivate their own offspring? What do you want to do by doing this? Is it to get rid of the identity of a monster, or do you have other plans? Louis Chao Sheng frowned. I don't know what you're talking about. You're trespassing on private property. Get out of here right now. or I'll call for help. What's in the box? How did you know it was buried under the old house of the fairy who pretended to be mysterious? Or do you have any relationship with her? Louis Chaosheng gritted his teeth. His face suddenly turned ferocious. He rushed to the desk and grabbed the ballpoint pen. You're asking too many questions. But the person in front of him wasn't an ordinary young man who looked thin and weak. Louis Chaosheng couldn't even see his movements clearly. He felt his head sinking and then a sharp pain. He was pressed on the desk directly. He couldn't move at all, as if he was injected with anesthetic. Yi Fei pressed her palm on Louis Chaosheng's back, moving slowly. Your ribs are missing too. The blood of the monster race in your body is very weak, but it's still there. It's really dirty, a combination of human and monster. Who are you? Louis Chaosheng widened his eyes, looking extremely frightened. Doctor, are you still not going to tell me? Yi Fei took out a test tube from the box and patted it on Louis Chaosheng's face. There seems to be some research materials about it in the secret cabinet. Have you heard of the story of Shinnong tasting all kinds of herbs? Actually, if you want to do research, you should try. Why don't you try it yourself? Watching the test tube being opened in front of him and getting close to his mouth, little by little, while he couldn't move, Louis Chaosheng's face became more and more frightened. In the end, he screamed, Don't. I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you everything. That's more like it. A smile appeared on Yi Fei's face. The talisman Momo used for the test had a reaction to Louis Hai's blood. Although the reaction was very weak, it was enough to prove that part of Louis Hai's body was a monster. But he couldn't feel any monster power from Louis Hai. That was to say, Louis Hai was closer to a real human, but Louis Yun's blood was stronger. Was it because of atavism? Momo was thinking about this until sunrise. With the revelation of Louis Hai's identity, more questions poured into Momo's mind. For example, who did Louis Hai's monster race blood come from? Was it his father Louis Buhai's or his late mother's? Since ancient times, the union between human beings and monsters has always been opposed. Then, was L.V. Buhai's union with his late wife clear or not? With more and more doubts in his mind, Momo heaved a sigh, walking to the window to open the curtain. The sky was still gloomy. It should be the time when the sun rose, but the sky above the sea was dark. It seemed that the storm didn't really leave last night. The rain just hid itself, and Yi Fei didn't come back last night. Mr. Momo, are you awake? Oh, yes. When he opened the door, Momo saw Louis Yun holding a plate. She got up early, cooked some porridge, and sent it to Momo. However, the little girl's expression didn't look too good. Are you still worried about what happened last night? Momo asked while eating. Louis Yun shook her head. That woman hasn't come back yet. When my dad wakes up and asks about it, I don't know how to answer him. Hasn't come back yet? Momo opened his mouth with surprise, then frowned. Mr. Momo, is it possible that you met with an accident? Louis Yun asked with a complex expression. After all, it rained heavily last night, the road was dark, and she was so flustered. It's possible. Momo put down the spoon. Well, I'll go out and look for her. She should be fine. Although your stepmother has a bad heart, she doesn't look like she'll die young. Maybe she's too scared to find a place to hide. If you find her, will you bring her back? Louis Yun plucked up her courage and asked, Are you afraid that you'll lose your mind again if you see her again? Momo frowned. Louis Yun kept silent. Momo stood up. For you, she might be worth hating. But for me, as long as she hasn't made any mistakes, she's still a human life. Of course, she needs to be educated. If you're really worried about yourself, why don't you find an excuse to stay in the room and try not to come out? Louis Yun took a deep breath. No need. I'll go with you. There's something I want to tell her face to face. Momo hesitated for a moment. As the saying goes, the one who tied the bell should untie it. Then he agreed. The two of them went out quietly, but they didn't find Luo Ayu's trace on the way. Then they came to the village at the foot of the mountain. But the village was very quiet at this moment, so quiet that they couldn't see anyone. It's strange, haven't the villagers woken up yet? Momo looked at the streets and alleys strangely. To be honest, the village was not big. There were only 70 to 80 families and hundreds of people. But it was over 8 o'clock in the morning, there should be no one. No, we all get up early to work. Louis Yun also looked around with doubt. Momo suddenly frowned and stopped. His eyebrows were knitted tightly. Mr. Momo, what's wrong? Wait, there's a smell of blood. What? At this moment, a figure rushed out crazily from the side alley. It was a man, but there were a lot of wounds on the man's body, almost dyed with blood. His face was full of fear. He ran all the way and rushed towards Momo and Louis Yun when he saw them. But before he could take a few steps, he had already fallen to the ground. After he fell, he saw that there was a ghastly wound on the man's back. Blood gushed out like a spring. When Momo came closer to check, he had died of blood loss. Momo's face changed greatly. Looking up at the alley where the man rushed out, find a place to hide and ensure your safety. I'll go to the front and check. Mr. Momo. But before she shouted, Momo had rushed into the alley. At this moment, something shot out from the alley and stuck to Louis Yun's arm. Don't tear off this talisman. It can protect you. Remember, find a place to hide. It was a distant voice. Louis Yun opened her mouth, glancing at the talisman on her arm and the dead man on the ground. She stepped back subconsciously with a frightened face. Clang! It was the sound of something being touched and falling to the ground. In the eerily quiet street, this sound was particularly clear. Louis Yun felt a chill coming from her back. She turned back suddenly and saw someone hiding in another alley. Louis Yun walked over carefully. There was indeed someone hiding in the alley. The man covered his body with the basket, but the basket kept shaking because of his trembling. Louis Yun took a deep breath, grabbing the basket and lifting it up forcefully. Monster! 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 Don't kill me! Don't kill me! She curled up and hugged her own body as if she was crazy. She kept saying the same words. Her face was pale, her body was muddy, and her body was trembling. Luo Ayu. Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! She didn't seem to realize that someone was approaching her. She just hugged her legs tighter in fear. Looking at this filthy woman, Louis Yun's pupils contracted gradually. The air was filled with the smell of blood, and it was getting thicker and thicker. Momo stuck the teleporting talisman on his legs, shuttling between the houses like a graceful bird. Momo felt the seriousness of the situation gradually. Along the way, he had already encountered quite a few corpses. It was obvious that they had all fled in fear from the same direction, but had not been able to hold on until they were rescued. Finally, Momo came to a place full of corpses in front of the clinic of Louis Village. Screams came from the clinic one after another. He stood in front of the clinic. The scene in front of him was like a scene of a Jura, making him feel cold all over. Momo walked quickly to a woman on the ground, squatting down, his fingers trembling as he wanted to touch her nose, but there was nothing. Terrified, he stretched out his hand towards another person who had fallen to the ground, but there was nothing. No, 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 no. Momo suddenly raised his head, roaring like a ferocious beast, rushing into the clinic in a flash. Momo saw Yi Fei in the patio of the clinic. His palm penetrated through an old man's chest. His palm had completely penetrated through the old man's back. More than half of Yi Fei's face was covered in blood. Brother! Yi! Brother Amo, you're here. Yi Fei pushed the boss's corpse away from her arm, turning around and looking at Momo, showing a clean smile that didn't match the blood on her face. I'll be done soon. You! What are you? Momo felt his legs were soft, as if all his strength was drained. What are you doing? Doing what? Yi Fei wiped her hands and revealed an even cleaner smile, as if it was only natural. Of course, it's to kill demons. Killing demons? Yi Fei slightly opened her hands. Brother Amo, I found out that all the people in this village have the bloodline of demons. They're all the descendants of demons. Isn't it incredible? They're actually hiding here and reproducing. Luckily, we found them early. Otherwise, these filthy things would mix in with humans sooner or later. Brother Amo, that's great, we found them out. Looking at Yi Fei's childlike smile that didn't match the blood, Momo's face turned pale. He felt that the chill in his heart was 10 times, 100 times stronger. Was this really the Yi Fei he knew, the Yi Fei he had talked with, the Yi Fei who was like a prince in a martial arts novel? Brother Mo, wait for me for a while. There's still 2 of them inside. I'll get rid of them and we'll be done. Then we can have a good drink tonight. Saying this, Yi Fei turned around, walking towards that house. Momo shuddered, instinctively raising his hand. Lightning flashed from his palm, directly splitting the path in front of Yi Fei, splitting the stone slab in half. Brother Mo, what are you doing? Yi Fei turned around with a puzzled look. What? Momo looked at Yi Fei inconceivably. You're asking me what I'm doing? I'm asking you what you're doing. Do you know what you're doing? The latter part of his words was already a roar. Yi Fei gave a start, looking at Momo's angry face. I see, Brother Mo, you must think I'm killing innocent people, right? You aren't you? Brother Mo, I've told you, all the people here are demons. Yi Fei said seriously. I didn't kill anyone wrongly, don't worry about that. Brother Mo, don't be fooled by the appearance of these people. Demons are the easiest to confuse humans. If you don't believe me, I can prove it to you. Yi Fei stretched out her hand, and a stream of qi shot out. At the same time, a young man was sucked out of the house, and his neck was caught by Yi Fei. I'll prove it to you. No! Without saying anything, Yi Fei clenched her hand into a claw, tearing the young man's body. The young man was cut open, and Yi Fei tore open his stomach. Brother Mo, see, I'm right. Chapter 1141. At this moment, Momo's only thought was to move his body and rush forward. He rushed in front of Yi Fei, grabbed her collar with both hands, and pushed her against the wall behind her. The momentum was so great that the moment Yi Fei's body hit the wall, the house seemed to tremble, and stone chips fell one after another. Brother Mo, what are you doing? Just like Momo's puzzlement, Yi Fei looked at him and asked the same question with almost the same tone. She grabbed the collar of Yi Fei's clothes and twisted it, tightening it around her neck. What do you mean by eliminating all evil, Brother Mo? What do you mean by making it transparent? Yi Fei's face darkened. Momo took a deep breath, gritting his teeth. You're just a lunatic who kills for fun. You're the scary one, you said. You still think these monsters are innocent? Yi Fei's voice was calm, as if he wasn't the one being strangled. These people, old and young, male and female, big and small, such a small one. Momo questioned with anger. Even if they're monsters, they didn't offend anyone. What did they do wrong? They didn't hurt anyone. Dozens of years ago, there was a bacterial disease in this village. Yi Fei said indifferently. This disease was created by a charlatan and her foreign lover. They had many purposes. Do you know what the people of this village have done under their conspiracy? They sacrificed a living person under their instigation. Momo's pupils widened, and his tight collar seemed to have loosened a little. The one sacrificed was Louis Hai's mother, the owner of the hotel where we stayed. A living person died for a stupid reason. For dozens of years, this group of people lived like this, giving birth to children and enjoying their old age. Sometimes I wonder if this kind of evil could be diluted by time. Time could even make happiness bloom in the soil of evil. Brother Mo, do you also think that they should live in peace and continue with your so-called, this kind of peaceful life where they haven't done anything, where they haven't harmed anyone? Yi Fei's words frightened Momo. While he was hesitating, Yi Fei's palm landed on Momo's chest and sent him flying. He fell on the flagstone of the patio. You don't know? That little girl who entertained you. You don't think she's a bad person. What did she do? Momo covered his chest, spitting out a mouthful of blood, watching Yi Fei walking towards him slowly. He said, "The doctor in this clinic is called Louis Chaosheng. He's the child of those two people. I don't know how your little girl knew the secret, and I'm not interested to know. But if it wasn't me, actually, even if I didn't do it, they would all have died. All the people here." What did you say? Your little girl plans to spread that kind of virus once again, so that those who made the mistake back then will suffer the consequences of their own actions. Brother M.O., you've been cheated. Impossible. Impossible. Nothing is impossible in this world. Were you bewitched by her or attracted by her pitiful appearance? Or did you fall in love with her in the woodshed behind the hotel? You followed me. I'm protecting you. Yi Fei said indifferently, Brother M.O., you're kind and righteous. How can you be used and tarnished by evil? I was still thinking of having a good drink with Brother M.O. after this matter is over. Yi Fei walked 2 steps forward, standing in front of Momo. Momo subconsciously moved backwards. Yi Fei heaved a sigh. Brother M.O., once the seed of evil is planted, it will only take root, germinate, and grow. Even if it's cut off, it will continue to store itself, and then continue to germinate, grow, and multiply endlessly. So, the best way to get rid of evil is to turn over the soil and dig out its seed. Only when it's eliminated from the source, it will be clean. Everyone in this village, even the seed of evil, will be passed down from generation to generation. It will grow more and more, and one day it will be hard to eliminate it. So no, a man should bear the consequences of his own actions. Even if they made a mistake decades ago, they will implicate the future generations. Momo struggled to stand up. Even if evil will grow in the future, what are we, the people with power, supposed to do? Just stand there and watch? This isn't a reason for you to kill the innocent. Yi Fei, you're just a lunatic. I won't let you go. It's too dangerous for you to have power. So it's like this. Yi Fei sighed, looking at Momo and nodding. Her face sank instantly. So you've been contaminated? Then there's no need to stay. Momo roared, his hand shook, and dozens of talismans shot out from his sleeves. But Yi Fei was faster than him. She was even faster than the magical power he injected into the talismans. That bloody palm pierced through the talismans and landed on Momo's chest once again. Apparently, it had exerted a lot of strength. Momo only felt that his ribs were broken. He spurted out a mouthful of blood and flew out of the door. Yi Fei's strength was far beyond his imagination. He flew out and fell among the corpses outside the clinic. Before he could react, Yi Fei rushed out of the door like a ghost and sent out another palm strike. Brother M.O., when you reincarnate in your next life, you must make sure to be clean. At this moment, a figure rushed out and bumped into Yi Fei unexpectedly, so the palm didn't hit Momo. At the same time, Momo felt he was pulled up by someone, running towards the long street far away. Louis Iyun. He didn't expect that the one who saved him was Louis Iyun, or the demonized Louis Iyun. At this time, Louis Iyun's demonized features almost covered her human features. Let's go first. Louis Iyun said in a hurry, pulling Momo and running out. Yi Fei didn't hit Momo, so she stood up slowly. Looking at the 2 running figures, she said, Brother M.O., it seems you've been polluted. You're willing to be with a demon. Yi Fei exhaled. She raised her palm and struck out from a distance. 3 points returned to origin. A gust of wind swept over, and a terrifying force lifted the flagstones on the street. Finally, it hit Louis Iyun and Momo hard. The 2 of them couldn't resist this terrifying power and were sent flying away at the same time. Momo's eyes even turned black, and he almost fainted. After the temporary dizziness subsided, what followed was ringing in his ears. He tried to get up shakily, only to feel that the sky was spinning and the earth was spinning. His body was in tatters, and the pain was more than the sum of all the pain he had experienced in the first half of his life. Finally, his hearing recovered a little. The sound of footsteps came into Momo's ears. He turned around abruptly, seeing Yi Fei had walked to Lui Yun, stretching out her terrifying palm. Lui Yun fell on the ground, crawling with difficulty, looking at Momo in horror. "Don't!" Yi Fei slapped down without hesitation. Lui Yun's body sank down a little. "Lui Yun!" Her body didn't move anymore. Momo knelt down on the ground feebly. "Brother Amo, I'm sorry." Yi Fei looked at Momo. A trace of pity flashed in her eyes, raising her hand. "Actually, I really like you." She walked to Momo step by step, stretching out her palm, aiming at Momo's forehead. "Boundless heaven and earth, borrow the power of the universe. Thunder God's edict, break!" A bolt of lightning struck down from the sky at that instant. Yi Fei's expression changed slightly. She immediately raised her hand and caught the bolt of lightning that was heading towards her. The thunderbolt exploded. Yi Fei seemed to be at a disadvantage, retreating several meters before stopping. At this moment, a figure landed on the ground, standing in front of Momo. It was a Taoist in green clothes, with long beard and messy hair, holding a wooden sword. "Master! Why are you? Bastard, your call made me anxious. So I came here in the middle of the night, without even the time to do my hair. Fortunately, I'm not late." The Taoist frowned, looking at Yi Fei, who was not far away. "You're Master Chang, he of Dragon Tiger Mountain?" Yi Fei glanced at the Taoist in front of her. "Taoist Chang," he snorted. "Humph! I've never heard of the Ultimate Ruin sect, but I recognize your blood god handprint. You're really the evil remnant of the demon sect, committing heinous crimes as soon as you come out." "Ha ha ha ha, heinous crimes?" Yi Fei suddenly laughed with a twitch. "Heinous crimes? Isn't that what you said? We have to eradicate all evils, and evil intentions must be uprooted. That's what you said. I'm just following your instructions." "Bullsh asterisk T. Taoist Chang," he snorted, flashing out without saying more. Yi Fei's expression instantly turned cold. Facing Long River Taoist's attack, she did not panic. She took advantage of the situation and retreated while fighting. There were traces of fighting between Taoist Chang, he, and Yi Fei everywhere on the street. Yi Fei's terror was displayed in front of Momo. He was actually on par with his master, Long River Taoist. Momo took a deep breath, barely suppressing his injury. He got up and walked towards Lui Yun. He just wanted to see whether this girl was dead or not. How are you?" After turning over Lui Yun's body, Momo found that she was still breathing. He couldn't help but feel depressed. Mr. Momo, didn't I tell you to hide? What are you doing here?" Lui Yun's eyes dimmed. Momo sighed, saying in a low voice, "Go ahead, I'm listening. What do you want to say?" I couldn't restrain myself. Lui Yun raised her hand with difficulty, grabbing Momo's clothes. I killed her. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I couldn't control myself. Don't say anything. Momo closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. "Don't say anything, Mr. Momo. You said once I killed someone you wouldn't let me go, so I thought instead of letting you come to me, why don't I come to you myself in this way? Don't say anything." That's good. Don't say anything, Mr. Momo. I killed her. My dad, my grandpa doesn't know. Can you let them go? They have a hard life. I can't do anything. I beg you. Don't say anything. It's so cold. It's okay. Momo hugged the girl tightly, rubbing her back with his palms, then grabbing her hands, warming them in his arms. It's okay. Iyun is a bad girl. It's okay. You're not bad. Momo lowered his head, her eyes were closed, and she was dead, lying in his arms with a crying face. I'm bad, really. The long street was cold. The hidden rain started to fall again. For a long time, he held Louis Yun, sitting here alone for a long time. After a long time, the rain didn't stop. But Daoist Changha came back, walking to Momo quickly. "Bastard, you, master." Momo raised his head, looking at Daoist Changha with a pale face and wet face. My heart is so cold." "Life and death are predestined. Don't blame yourself too much." Daoist Changha said gloomily, "You just came down from the mountain. You don't know much. Yi Fei was better than you in both scheming and strength, so you suffered losses. But you have to remember this and pay it back later." "Why?" "She's dead. She died right in front of my eyes and I couldn't do anything." Momo grabbed Daoist Changha's pants, walking to him on his knees. "Master, my heart is so cold." Daoist Changha sighed. "I'm not much better than you. I chased after Yi Fei all the way. Though I hurt her, she escaped easily and even killed 2 more people on the mountain. Alas, I'm old." "On the mountain?" "2 people." Momo realized something in an instant, sitting down paralyzed. He raised his head, the rain hitting his face. "Ah!" He let out a roar. "I'm called Momo. I cut my hair short and left it in Louis Village. Ever since that day, I set a goal for myself, and that was to find Yi Fei. All these years, my martial power has always been breaking through. As early as 5 years ago, my martial power even surpassed my master's. For a whole 15 years, I have always been chasing after Yi Fei. I met her several times but couldn't defeat her, so I escaped with serious injuries. Finally, 1 year ago, I hurt her. These years, Yi Fei didn't stay idle. Kelowna's Dao Demon Realm spread his legend everywhere. She had become the target of the 2 realms. Yi Fei even alarmed Shinryu and Shenyuan Palace. I knew that the true dragon was enraged and would definitely be able to capture Yi Fei. However, I had to capture this person before they did. 15 years later, I came to Louis Village again. This place had long been abandoned. I saw her again at the place where I met Yi Fei. She was almost the same as that year. Her face was as white as jade, just like an elegant young master in a chivalrous novel. As for me, my hair had turned white and my face was full of stubble. Master said that my power improved too fast, and I exchanged it with my life. I said, if I didn't exchange it with my life, I wouldn't be able to defeat Yi Fei and I wouldn't be able to return her things. "Wine, do you want a drink?" Chapter 1142. The hotel had been emptied a long time ago, ever since the family here had died. Everywhere was covered in dust. Yi Fei sat in the middle of the hall, as if she was waiting for my arrival. He poured me a glass of wine, and I drank it without hesitation. Yi Fei smiled at me and said that he liked me very much. Unfortunately, our ideals were different. You can't escape this time. For the first time, I was filled with confidence and looked at Yi Fei as if I was looking down on him. It wasn't only because I had a breakthrough in my power, nor was it because he had become the target of everyone's hate, nor was it because I knew that Yi Fei was injured. Half a month ago, he was injured by the people of the Shenyuan Palace. I was looking down on him because I felt that I had escaped from Yi Fei's clutches. For the past 15 years, I always felt that Yi Fei was always by my side, mocking my weakness and coldly watching me chase after her. To me, Yi Fei was like a high and mighty god. He had the strength to easily destroy what I wanted to protect and suppressed me until I couldn't breathe. "Let's get to know each other," I said, tired. "Okay," Yi Fei agreed. She finished the pot of wine. I also agreed. I knew Yi Fei as well as I knew myself. He was arrogant and never cared about lies. This was a man who dared to laugh and sweep Kelowna's Taoist and monster realm. I couldn't help but admire him. At this time, Yi Fei said that there was still some time and it was too boring to just sit there. It was better to play something. Then he took out a deck of cards and spread it out. "How about gambling? Our power is about the same, so we don't need to use our power. Let's just draw the cards and see who wins and who loses. It's purely based on luck." "What happens if I win and what happens if I lose?" The winner can ask the loser a question. Any question is fine. Of course, you can choose not to answer. I nodded, and before Yi Fei, I drew a card. Yi Fei also slowly drew a card after me. I drew a 4 of diamonds, and Yi Fei drew a 9 of hearts. He won and I lost. How long can you live? At most 3 years. Yi Fei smiled and threw away the 9 of hearts in his hand. Then he drew a 7 of clubs, and I got the 5 of hearts. How many villains have you met in all these years? Including you, there are 337 in total. Yi Fei threw away her cards. This time she drew a 3 of spades, while I drew a 6 of diamonds. Do you remember how many people and demons you killed? I don't remember. I never count. Mine is a 10 of spades, and Yi Fei is a 7 of spades. Exterminating evil. Have you ever wrongly killed anyone? No. Mine is an 8 of hearts, and Yi Fei is a 3 of clubs. Is it what you think? No means no. Mine is 2 of clubs, and Yi Fei has 10 of spades. What do you regret the most in your life? 15 years ago, I didn't stop you sooner. Yi Fei smiled. This time she got the 10 of spades, and I got the Queen of hearts. What is the least regretful thing in your life? No answer. I then drew the Ace of hearts and the Jack of clubs. Tell me about the first half of your life. He's an orphan. His family was swept away during the flood. My master brought me to the mountain, and I cultivated there. At the age of 11, I learned all the spells of Dragon Tiger Mountain. At the age of 19, I left the mountain at the age of 26. Half a year after I left the mountain, I came to Louis Village. Mine is a 5 of spades, and Yi Fei has a 6 of spades. Yi Fei poured the wine again. What are you thinking now? I'll win one more round, then you can ask. Yi Fei happily drank the wine in one gulp and drew a 5 of diamonds. I drew an 8 of diamonds. Yi Fei gestured for me to start. What about the first half of your life? My father caught a woman with a special body and gave birth to me. I had never seen this woman before. In my father's words, she was a tool to make me more perfect. I started cultivating on the first day after I was born. Before I was 13, I didn't leave the cultivation room. When I was 13, my father died. He was killed by someone from the Shenyuan Palace. He brought me out, saying that he wanted to exterminate evil, and pierced my heart. What's interesting is that my heart is different from other people's. It's probably something my father did when he gave birth to me. Anyway, I survived. I left the island at the age of 20 and came to Louis Village at the age of 26. I picked up the wine bottle and shook it. There was less than half of it left. After I poured the wine for Yi Fei and myself, I could only drink one more round. I drew a king of spades. This time, Yi Fei didn't draw and asked me to ask directly. The people from the Shenyuan Palace wanted to kill you. Why did you want to exterminate evil after you were dead? Because of it, I had the chance to leave the cultivation room. Don't you think it's a good reason? I don't think so. I drew a Jack of diamonds. This time, Yi Fei was lucky and got a king of spades. They chased me for 15 years. Why except to kill me? This time I kept silent for a long time. I knew I didn't have to answer this question because the rules had been set. Yi Fei was very patient. He just looked at me with a smile. At this moment, I suddenly realized that my confidence, my arrogance, was actually so weak. He was still the same young master who had been by my side for the past 15 years, mocking me all the time. Because I was scared. Yi Fei poured the last of the wine into the cup. 1 cup for him, 1 for me, and 1 for me. However, when he held it in his hand, he didn't drink it directly. I didn't drink it either. We just looked at each other and didn't move. Yi Fei began to look at the wine cup. I didn't know what he was thinking. He seemed to be absent-minded. We sat from the morning to the evening. In the evening, it started to rain. It was a very heavy rain. I remember a girl told me that the weather at the seaside was like this. The rain was hidden. When people wanted to be scared, they would run out of the rain. The wine cup in Yi Fei's hand shook for the first time. He suddenly recited a poem. The young man listens to the songs of the rain. The red candles dim the canopy. Beauty Yu listens to the rain. The strong man listens to the rain in the boat. The river is wide and the clouds are low. The cliff is called West. I had heard of it before. He looked at it. Now the monk listens to the rain. His hair is like the stars. The joys and sorrows of separation are always heartless. Before each step, we drip until dawn. Yi Fei smiled and finally drank the wine. He said softly, "It's too long to sit until dawn." I thought so too. I didn't drink it. Instead, I chose to stab him with my sword. I had practiced this move for 15 years. It was a sure-kill move. Maybe I could defeat Yi Fei now, but I could kill him. The table shattered the moment we exchanged blows, and the hotel that had been empty for 15 years collapsed in an instant. In the heavy rain, Yi Fei and I faced each other. My sure-kill move stabbed into Yi Fei's shoulder. At the same time, my left arm was hit by his blood god handprint. I couldn't lift it. Yi Fei was right. Our skills were about the same. Perhaps this was a battle where both sides would perish together. We fought until the weather changed. We fought from the mountainside to the cliff, and then from the cliff to the beach. The weather changed. I, who had entered the Tao querying realm 3 years ago, had become one of the strongest experts in Kelowna. Yi Fei was not inferior to me. He might have entered the Tao querying realm 15 years ago. We didn't ask each other any more questions because we had already asked each other when we were drinking. The cliff of Louis Village was shaved off by us. The edge of the beach was also destroyed, forming a new landscape. The wind and rain were also scared of our strength and dispersed. My wooden sword finally pierced into the right side of Yi Fei's chest, piercing through her heart, and Yi Fei's hand finally pressed onto my chest. Almost at the same time, we both fell to the ground. This was the ending that I had thought of the most in the past 15 years. Now, it really appeared in front of me. However, it was different from what I had imagined. I originally thought that after I fell, Yi Fei would accompany me and say a few words. However, Yi Fei was already dead. She died very straightforwardly. He had always been so straightforward. Only I was left with half a breath. He shouldn't have told me that his heart was different from ordinary people's. Until the moment I closed my eyes, what lingered in my heart was not the joy of revenge or the relaxation of the past 15 years. I was just confused as to why he had told me. All of a sudden, a brilliant golden light shone on the ocean where the dark clouds had disappeared. Fighting in the torrential rain had left my body cold. But at this moment, the radiant ocean seemed to be giving me warmth. I seemed to see a figure in the sea. I couldn't see her face clearly, but I remembered her name. She was like a sea demon, singing at the top of her lungs on the resplendent sea. I used the last bit of strength to sit up and glance at Yi Fei, who had already become cold. I sat on the ground with my legs crossed. Vaguely, I seemed to be like this, sitting on the edge of the beach and watching the sea. In a trance, I seemed to have become Yi Fei. I spent 13 years in a dark training room. Suddenly, one day, a person appeared in front of me and said that my father had already been killed. I was created as a tool for revenge and shouldn't be left alive. I thought Yi Fei thought we thought. We are evil. I suddenly opened my eyes. The bright light in front of me stung me. I remembered that a long time ago, a senior told me about the problem of the human heart. The coldest thing is the human heart. The warmest thing is the human heart. Whether it's warm or cold, you know it. Whether it's warm or cold, you know it. When I opened my eyes again, I saw the senior. I had woken up from the cycle of reincarnation. The nurse who had hugged me while crying, wanting to use her body to exchange for safety, was still sleeping soundly on the chair. I almost forgot her face. The clock on the wall didn't seem to have passed for long, probably a few minutes. I could clearly hear the sound of Jean Eyre's heartbeat coming from the isolation ward, and Senior was standing in front of me, looking at me quietly. This is just an illusion. I looked at Senior Luo. The past was an illusion, an illusion, an illusion. I couldn't even tell if this place was an illusion or if Yi Fei and I were an illusion. If it's easier to understand, Mr. Momo, you can understand it this way. Senior looked at me and said. I frowned in confusion. The senior said, recently I picked up an item. Using its ability, I can use this world's original foundation to reconstruct a new direction. This was set by Senior? Yi Fei. Yi Fei was also designed by Senior? Everything. No. Yi Fei just used your doubts to create another you. Senior looked at me calmly. After you put him in, everything will change by itself. Rather than saying that I designed it, it's better to say that it's what you want to know. I didn't understand, but I often had to think about Senior's words for a long time. But I vaguely understood something. I had two reincarnations. One was myself, the other was Yi Fei. Our reincarnations were going on at the same time. The coldest thing is human heart. The warmest thing is human heart. Only you will know if it's cold or warm. I slowly read out the last thing I realized. Senior looked at me with a different expression. It seemed more vivid. I always felt that when he looked at me, it was like looking at a work of art. I suddenly felt a chill on my back. Then, Mr. Momo, your service has been completed. According to the contract, you need to pay 30 years of your life. I nodded. At that moment, I felt like I had aged a lot. Perhaps my appearance didn't change, but I really felt that a long time had passed. Then thank you for your patronage, Mr. Momo. I look forward to serving you again next time. Senior looked at me and humbly left the stage. This time, I didn't ask him to stay. I just silently watched him disappear from my eyes. I knew that I seemed to have something that Senior wanted. As long as I wanted it, he would appear in front of me again. After a long time, the clock on the wall turned round and round, but the nurse still didn't wake up. I cast a tranquilizing spell on her so she could sleep for a long time. Jean Eyre in the isolation ward was also sleeping. I looked at the sleeping Jean Eyre through the glass and also looked at my own reflection. I finally saw myself. I found that there were some white hairs on my temples. Now Monktingu Lucia has hair like stars. I wasn't young anymore. I took a deep breath and turned around to leave the underground healer's room. I planned to go to the room where the demon that was riddled with scars was trapped. I knew that this time I wouldn't be scared off by him. Outside Wulong Mountain Villa, Nero was poking a beehive with a branch. Drooling, the branch slowly reached the beehive. "What are you doing?" Luacio's voice suddenly sounded under the tree. Nero was startled. The branch pierced through the beehive, and the angry bees rushed out crazily. Nero screamed and fell down from the tree. Of course, for the tyrant, one of the former divine generals of the Michael Club, who had very high fighting skills. There was enough time for her to adjust her posture in the air and land safely. He landed on the ground with full marks and raised his hand at the same time, swatting away the swarm of crazy bees. "Boss, I'm timid. Don't scare me, okay? You can touch me if you don't believe me." Nero raised her chest and showed a pitiful face. Luaccio smiled and waved his hand. A piece of beeswax appeared in his hand. Apparently, it was from the beehive on the tree. "Eat it. Thank you, boss." Chapter 1143. It was the same Tao art, but this time it was more subtle. The two agents guarding the door didn't even realize they were hit by the Tao art. They lost their senses and slid down against the wall. Momo came to the door, which was sealed with a strip of seal. He didn't open the door directly, but just put his palm on the door. He could clearly feel the strong hatred in the room. He was once afraid of this hatred. Not only did he not move forward, he even retreated. Momo took a deep breath. His palm sucked, and the seal fell off easily. His power didn't increase at all. The two reincarnations only changed his state of mind. But according to Senior Luo's words, Everything was deduced based on the existing foundation. Momo didn't think this was an illusion. Calling it an illusion seemed to be belittling Senior Luo's means. He and Yi Fei had experienced 15 years together. In these 15 years, the people they met, the things they encountered, the development of the world, step by step, it wasn't something that could be constructed by illusions. This was beyond the limit of illusions. He, who had entered the Tao-seeking realm in the reincarnation, clearly understood this point. This was a great supernatural power. 30 years of life, even if it was just for one experience of such a great supernatural power, it was definitely worth it. He could only think this way. The seal was removed. Momo pushed the door open and entered. A gust of wind blew his hair to the back. The wind seemed to be a one-time thing and then calmed down. This was an object condensed from the anger, hatred, and resentment of the scarred demon inside. Like boiling steam, it broke through the breach. The low growl of the beast language filled every corner of the room. The light from the outside shone into the room and turned into a long section, landing right on the body of this wounded demon. It raised its head, looking at Momo, who was walking towards it. There was a trace of surprise on its face, because it knew how this young Taoist retreated from it in a panic 1 or 2 hours ago. "What are you doing here?" It frowned, seeing Momo again. Momo gave it a completely unfamiliar feeling. Monsters were more sensitive to the aura of living creatures than humans. Smell, spirit, eyes, everything was the most important element for monsters to distinguish humans. He was obviously still composed of these elements, but he seemed to have become another person. It was even surprised by the calmness that should not appear in this young Taoist. This reminded it of those old guys who were like itself, dedicated to the task at hand. It even saw something that it had in Momo, something that was indispensable for a Taoist to reach the Tao-seeking realm and a monster to break through the limit to become a big monster. Faith. Momo came to it without fear or alertness, as if he was looking at a strange yet familiar person. He suddenly asked, "You, what's your name?" "Du Lin." The scarred demon, its name. Momo. Momo nodded. "That's my name." Du Lin sneered, looking at Momo up and down. "Momo, s good acting. You Taoists s mind state of mind? Do you want to get up from wherever you fall? I advise you to stop your wishful thinking. Look at you. You're obviously scared to death and lost yourself, but you still force yourself to be calm. Do you want to break this predicament by facing me? You're right, but the time is too short. Come back after 5 or 10 years. Maybe you'll have a chance. I've experienced it." Momo looked at Du Lin, saying in a low voice. His face was as calm as the water in a deep valley, so calm that it was even a bit cold. "Experienced what?" Du Lin frowned, even praising this young Taoist's calmness. Momo looked at his palm, saying softly, "I wanted to save him, but I couldn't. I could only watch it happen. I laughed at myself for being too weak, for being too useless." "You brat!" Du Lin was stunned, asking subconsciously, "What have you done in the past hour?" "I've lived 2 lives." Du Lin opened its mouth in surprise. Momo smiled gloomily. He looked at Du Lin, saying seriously, "Du Lin, I'm sorry to hear everything about you, but I'm not going to do anything to you now. I'm not going to kill you or let you go. Let's be fair. How many of your clansmen have been killed by humans, and how many of them have you killed? A life for a life. As for the rest, you can estimate it yourself, and others will estimate it too. That's all I have to say." Momo turned around and left, leaving Du Lin with a complicated expression. When he was about to leave the room and close it again, Du Lin suddenly rushed forward. The people lock made clanging sounds because of its craziness. "What would you do if you were me? What would you do? What would you do? Say it." It widened its eyes, looking extremely ferocious. "I won't stop hating, being angry and resentful." Momo looked at it. "I don't have the power to deny all evils, neither do I have the ability to wipe out all the injustices in the world. Of course, I can't help those that are beyond my reach. What I can do is to try my best to save those that are within my reach. Momo, close the door. You should stay here. Momo didn't know whether Dulin could hear the last sentence, but it wasn't his concern. What he cared about was another thing. Momo let out a sigh, slowly turning around and looking at the courtyard in front of him, looking at the figure that appeared silently. Green robe, bronze mask, hands clasped behind his back. Momo looked at him, asking calmly, "Are you Lai Kai-sheng or Tian XN71?" Green robe, bronze mask, he looked at Momo for quite a while, since Momo asked him about his identity. "You've become different." His voice was a bit hoarse. Obviously, it wasn't like Sai-sheng's voice. "In such a short time, your power didn't improve, but your state seems to have stepped into a new realm. It's really rare, really rare. It seems that I didn't make a wrong choice. You're worth keeping. Tian XIN71. Momo walked out of the corridor, coming to a distance less than 3 meters away from him. The Tao monsters and the administration of Crouching Dragon Villa have all been dispatched. This is at most an empty city. If you want to save Dulin, it's indeed a good time. But what's your real intention?" At this time, the bronze-masked man slowly took off the mask on his face, revealing his pale, bloodless, and aged face. "It seems that something very interesting, even beyond common sense, has happened to you. But we call it a lucky chance. Lucky chances are very precious to us. It's a good thing that you can encounter it. It proves that you're very lucky. As the saying goes, there's always a way out. Even though the world's aura has declined and the Tao monsters have gone to a dead end, there's still a chance for us to fight for. Momo, do you want to fight for this slim chance of survival with me? Your disciples seem to want to invite me too." Momo smiled faintly. The little one did. Now it's the big one's turn. "It seems that the two of you really like me. I like excellent talents, geniuses." Tian XIN71 opened his arms slightly and said, "Only they have the qualifications to fight for this slim chance of survival. This world is a big melting pot. Only the essence can remain. The dregs will be melted away sooner or later. The new era needs excellent guides. Come, be the guides of the new era with me." "What about Dulin?" Momo asked. Dulin and the other Tao monsters inside, what are they to you? "Cornerstones," Tian XIN71 said seriously. "They're the cornerstones of the new era, the best, the greatest cornerstones." Momo shook his head. "The cycle of the heavenly Tao, the rise and fall of Tao monsters, the decline and fall of humans. Since you're the previous Tian XIN of Lini Tao, haven't you thought about this? This time, even if you revive the world's aura and restart the Tao monster era, so what? Can you exterminate humans? Exterminating humans is equivalent to destroying the foundation of immortal Tao. It can only stay, but once it stays, it will rise again one day. Then, do you want to activate the world's aura again? Can you still live to that era?" Tian XIN71 narrowed his eyes. His slightly open hands drooped down. Momo sighed. "You can't. No one can guarantee that. Let nature take its course. What should be destroyed will be destroyed sooner or later. After it's destroyed, what should be revived will naturally revive. Yin and yang coexist. All things are inverted. If you can't understand this, no matter how strong your spiritual power is, you can beat Tao-seeking realm. But you're still a Tao-seeking realm cultivator. You can't pass it." What realm are you at now?" Tian XIN71 couldn't hide the astonishment in his eyes. "I don't know either." Momo shook his head. "At least my power isn't as high as yours. Okay, you also have faith, but it's more of an obsession. But it may be the seed of your Tao-seeking realm. In that case, I won't argue with you. Let's argue about something else. Are you here to save Dulin, or do you have other plans?" Tian XIN71 chuckled. "If an excellent genius can't be a guide, he'll definitely be a destroyer of cornerstones. What a pity. In my opinion, you're dangerous enough for me to have to kill you. Momo shook his head, waving his hand, and a black wooden sword appeared in his hand. Actually, I've also comprehended the simplest and also the crudest principle. Oh, actually, it's all nonsense. Momo said indifferently. Those with bigger fists can say whatever they want. Tion Xin 71, I won't argue with you anymore. I'll beat you until your worldview is normal, then we can talk again. Momo drew his sword. On the black wooden sword, the sound of wind and thunder shocked the area within dozens of miles. Instantly, lightning shot out in all directions in crouching Dragon Villa. Boundless heaven and earth, borrowing power from the universe. Thunder edict, heaven thunder. The wind and clouds changed color. Heaven thunder, the most advanced thunder technique in Dragon Tiger Mountain. You've only cultivated for 20 years, and you want to use it? Aren't you afraid of the backlash? Take care of yourself first. Don't spit blood. It'll pollute the environment. Not far away, Nero, who was chewing the beeswax on her hand and spitting out the sticky substance on her fingers, said excitedly, "This little brother Justice seems to have become more powerful. Boss, did you give him a cheat?" In the Eastern system, the state of mind seems to be the most difficult to cultivate. Well, it's a very special system. Strength doesn't mean everything. Luaccio glanced at it, then took out a handkerchief, handing it over. "Wipe it." "Oh." Nero took it over obediently, but suddenly said, "But I feel that this little brother Justice really admires you, boss." Luaccio asked curiously, "Why do you say that?" Nero narrowed her eyes. "Don't you think he's imitating you?" Luaccio gave a start, then turned around, watching the duel again. As for Nero, she climbed back to the tree to get the beeswax. "You don't get so much honey in winter. That's all I have," the boss said indifferently. Nero blinked and jumped down from the tree with a few leaves stuck on her hair. She said pitifully, "Boss, I still want," Luaccio said casually. "I remember when I helped you reshape the Black Soul body. I didn't reshape your character, nor did I add any strange thoughts into it, because I will yield to the strong." Nero said with a smile, "That's a good reason. Then what about eating? Why are you so obsessed with eating?" "To live," Nero said indifferently. "I can eat anything, spoiled bread, water in the quagmire, and even dead insects, because I can only live if I can eat. But now, even if I don't eat, I can still live. I am not used to it. You will get used to it slowly." Luaccio nodded, opened his palm, and took out another piece of fresh beeswax. "There is a beehive next to it. After eating this, there will be no more nearby." "Hey!" Nero grabbed it quickly, then put her hand on Boss Luo's shoulder and said with a sneaky smile, "How is it? Did my words just now get the highest score in your heart?" With that said, Nero opened her mouth and bit down the beeswax in her hand. Unexpectedly, the beeswax was as stiff as a stone. She almost bit it away from her mouth. "What the hell is this? By the way, I forgot to tell you. This thing has been here for too long, so it probably can't be eaten," Luaccio said indifferently. Boss stingy. Chapter 1144. Poof! The place where Tion Xin Generation 71 fell was the fish pond in the crouching Dragon Mountain Villa. The water rippled, and the foam was squeezed to the edge of the pond. In the water, Heaven's Heart 71 stood up in a slightly wretched state. His originally pale face was now as white as paper, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Clearly, he had already suffered internal injuries. Momo's foot landed on the roof of the courtyard. He didn't show any arrogance, even though he had the upper hand. He just looked down. "You are already at the Tao querying realm?" Heaven's Heart 71 frowned and asked. Momo said indifferently, "Actually, there's no need to worry about my current state. I knocked you into the water to wake you up. Are you sober now? If you're awake, we can continue to chat." The pupils of the 71st generation Skyheart shrank. At the same time, his clothes began to swell crazily. Tion Xn Gen 71 raised his hands, and between each of his 10 fingers were 4 thick and long steel needles. Momo frowned. At this moment, Tion Xn 71 directly pierced these needles into his head. Golden needle acupuncture. It wasn't hard for Momo to guess Sky Heart's 71 generation's plan. The 15 years he spent in the reincarnation was based on the current situation. His knowledge in the reincarnation couldn't be mentioned in the same breath as in the past. That's right. Tianqin's pale white face instantly regained some color. I admit that your realm is unexpectedly high, so high that you can reach the level of near Tao with your weak magic power. However, there are still powerful breakthroughs in this world. No matter how high your realm is, your weak magic power is still your shortcoming. This is the 100 herbs, sex Bianc returning to the cloud, 12 needles, right? You've only done 8 needles. It's because your body can't take it. Momo shook his head. But speaking of which, your plainclothes sect is really good. So many people ask you for fortune-telling. Perhaps this secret art is also your consultation fee? The 71 generation Sky Heart suddenly felt a bit of fear. This young fellow in front of him had an indescribable sense of vicissitudes that was not something that someone of his age should have. No matter how talented he was, it was impossible for him to be so experienced and knowledgeable. The 100 Herb sect was a reclusive sect that only knew how to concoct pills and medicine. The younger generation might not have even heard of the cloud returning 12 needles, let alone recognize them. Was this guy the same Momo who was drunk like a lost lamb in the hotel on New Year's Eve? It was as if he had been possessed by some old monster. Fire God. However, now was not the time to think about the changes in the other party during this period of time. Skyheart 71 clasped his hands together, and instantly a fire dragon rose from his side. The high temperature instantly evaporated the water in the fish pond. The rolling steam was like a cloud, and the fire dragon rushed out of the cloud. Feeling the incoming heat wave, Momo took half a step back and waved his black wooden sword. At the same time, 12 talismans shot out from his sleeves and stuck to the 2 sides of the wooden sword. My magic power has more than doubled. I hope I can still hold on. Momo took a deep breath. His opponent was right. The strength of his magic power was indeed his shortcoming, and the cultivation of magic power was a long process, unless he also used this kind of acupoint piercing skill. And he did use this kind of acupoint piercing skill. When he chased after Yi Fei in the reincarnation, the golden needles pierced into his acupoints for a whole 10 years. Therefore, his life had been overdrawn to the limit in the reincarnation. Cursed seals floated around Momo, blocking the fire dragon 3 feet away. However, the power of the fire dragon didn't weaken. Instead, it became more and more powerful under Skyheart 70's crazy urging. Momo took a deep breath into his dantian, his face turning red. He started to recite a series of incantations. I summon the god of the void with my original life. I combine the chi of the void with the chi of the void with my own chi. High, heavenly jade, pure true king, please listen. Imperial edict. In an instant, all the talismans burned out. A wisp of purple light came from the void, attaching itself to the black wooden sword. In a split second, purple thunderbolts wrapped around the wooden sword, making sizzling sounds. Momo moved, slashing out with the sword. Like heavenly thunder stirring up earth fire, the great power of the Tao spell caused the buildings in crouching Dragon Mount Villa to collapse. The fire dragon's head was split open by the thunderbolts. Momo was like a thunder god, pulling the sword down from the dragon's head and directly splitting the fire dragon in half. However, the thunderbolts on the wooden sword didn't weaken at all. They continued to slash at Skyheart 71 with great force. In his haste, he hurriedly formed dozens of seals with his hands, erecting one magic barrier after another. However, under this peerless lightning, It was as thin as paper. When the final barrier was split open, the pupils of the 71 generation Skyheart's pupils constricted to the extreme. At the same time, the heavenly thunder madly poured into his body. A bolt of lightning shot up to the sky from crouching Dragon Mountain Villa. The terrifying thunder spell flattened the entire courtyard. That huge fish pond turned into scorched earth. Momo slowly lowered the black wooden sword in his hand, the remnant thunderbolts on his body swimming around. In the scorched earth, Skyheart 71's legs sank into the earth, his hands raised high, but he didn't move at all. His eyes rolled up, his body was scorched black, he had lost consciousness, but he still had a breath of life. Momo slowly exhaled, walking to Skyheart 71's front. He seemed to have overexerted himself. But it's good. There won't be so much trouble if I catch you. Yen Xiaoxi should have an easier time too. Momo took a deep breath, taking out 2 talismans. With a flip of his palm, the talismans turned into 2 cold iron chains, coiling around Skyheart 71's body, completely tying him up. Momo heaved a sigh of relief, planning to find a place to meditate and recover some strength. But it was at this moment that 2 sounds of something breaking through the air came from behind him. All of a sudden, he, who had been through hundreds of battles, turned around and used his wooden sword to block in front of him. His body even moved several meters in a fluid motion. The black wooden sword was pinned by 2 hairpin-like golden needles. Momo frowned. He quite liked this wooden sword, mainly because it was easy to use. At this moment, a figure swiftly jumped to the side of Skyheart 71's unconscious body. Momo sized up. Black clothes, black face veil, but from the figure it was a woman. Usually, the big one will come after the small one. So I thought the small one would come after the big one. But it's a woman. The sneak attack was good, but the control wasn't good at the end. Your breath is a bit messy. Are you afraid? Momo commented briefly. At that moment, the woman with the black veil clenched her hands into fists and assumed the starting position of an ancient fist technique. However, her gaze wandered, and she had a grave expression on her face. You're brave. You've been hiding and dared to come out after seeing my fight with Skyheart 71. But your breath is heavy again. Momo said indifferently. The woman with the black veil kept silent for a while. You fought with Skyheart 71's, even though you won. You used up all your strength. How much strength do you have now? Momo smiled faintly, shrugging. You can have a try. It doesn't mean I can't deal with you. It's just because I don't want to be heavy-handed to someone I have a good impression of. Miss Gong, I thought you were an upright person. I didn't expect you to be on Lai Caixing's side. The woman with the black veil slightly narrowed her eyes, frowning after a while. When did you recognize me? Body shape, smell, and aura. Momo smiled. Just now I recognized it. The woman with the black veil slowly lifted off her face, revealing her true appearance. She was the heroic woman who handled the affairs as the secretary of the Tao Association before the Pumlai conference. You are really different. Miss Gong was still on guard against Momo. Let's not talk about this. Momo shook his head. I won't let you take Skyheart 71's away. Are you going to surrender yourself, or do you want me to do it? Don't worry, I won't hurt you. Miss Gong's heart seemed to waver. But at this moment, the scorched earth under her feet suddenly broke open. The soil turned into water, wrapping around her body and hardening. She couldn't get rid of it at once. You're cheating. Miss Gong looked at Momo, snorting coldly. I've been in the martial world for a long time. Of course I've learned more. Momo shook his head, walking slowly to Miss Gong. Sorry. Momo stuck a talisman on Miss Gong's body. When the talisman touched her forehead, Miss Gong turned into a mass of black matter, melting little by little in front of Momo. Momo's pupils shrunk. At this moment, black matter gushed out from the scorched earth, drowning his legs in a split second. It was like a black ocean. It was about to reach Momo's chest. In this black ocean, countless demons and monsters appeared, surrounding him completely. Momo's face changed slightly, but he didn't panic. He bit the tip of his tongue, spurting out a mouthful of blood. Break! The black ocean and demons in front of him retreated like the tide, disappearing gradually. It was just an illusion. Like I said, even if you beat the old one, the young one will still come out. Representative Lai, we meet again. Momo took a deep breath. Unknowingly, a gray-haired youth was standing beside the 71st generation, Tian Exe. At this moment, the earth law shackles that were trapping Miss Gong had also directly shattered. Miss Gong proudly escaped and came to the young man, lowering her head. "I'm sorry, my lord. I was too careless." The young man, Lai Kaixing, waved his hand, saying softly, "Even my master is not as good as him. He was already merciful to you." Miss Gong opened her mouth, looking at Momo with a complicated expression, then retreated behind Lai Kaixing. "Indeed, we meet again." Lai Kaixing sized up Momo, suddenly saying, "I'm curious. How did you reach the Tao querying realm in such a short time, and to the point of completely stabilizing it?" "Take a guess." Momo said indifferently, "Aren't you always hard to calculate? Don't let my previous admiration for you go down the drain. After experiencing a lot, the state of mind will naturally improve. It's just a matter of time." Lai Kaixing said indifferently, "There are methods of time travel. Cloth Tao has the reincarnation method. It can let people experience many previous lives in one night. But Dragon Tiger Mountain shouldn't have it. It's that person who helped you, the mysterious man under the ancient well." "Keep guessing." Momo smiled but didn't say anything. "This guy really guessed it. I'm actually very curious about him." Lai Kaixing said slowly, "All along, I've been wanting to find his whereabouts to ask some questions. But he can hide from all calculations. Momo, I can spare your life, but can you tell me where he is?" The rare genius of Cotton Gown Tao is indeed different. Momo laughed high and mighty. "Everyone has their own destiny." Lai Kaixing shook his head. "I'm not high and mighty. I just have some opinions. Like you said, the one with the bigger fist can say anything, right? That person's whereabouts. Are you going to tell me or not?" If Lai Kaixing found Senior Luo, who knows what he would get from him? Lai Kaixing was already so hard to deal with now. Wouldn't he be even more terrifying after he came out from there? Momo sneered, smiling but didn't say anything. Lai Kaixing exhaled slowly, waving his hand. Instantly, the cold light shackles on Heaven Heart's 71 generation broke. Miss Gong hurried to support him. "My master was born slow-witted, mediocre in cloth Tao, but he was the one who survived till the end." Lai Kaixing said softly he had a senior brother called Qing Xiazi, overflowing with talent. The previous generation's Heaven's Heart should be his, but he was expelled from the sect. My mediocre master became the previous generation's Heaven's Heart because of this. "What are you trying to say?" Momo frowned. "Even so, he's still my master." Lai Kaixing looked at Momo, saying faintly, "A son doesn't despise his mother for being ugly. He took me in, taught me, raised me, and passed the Heaven's Heart to me. I'll naturally find a way to help him realize his wish. And since you're blocking his way, I'll naturally get rid of you. Actually, it'd be better if you agreed to be my master's guide. I have a bad temper. I'm cheap. I can't be a great person." Momo took a deep breath. The black wooden sword in his hand flashed with purple lightning again. A sword slashed down. The power of the lightning changed the weather once again. Lai Kaixing didn't move at all. When the lightning sword slashed down, he only stretched out a finger, pointing at the lightning. Instantly, the lightning dispersed, vanishing into nothingness. Momo's entire body seemed to be confined by the power of heaven and earth. The heavy pressure almost bent his legs. After a few more years, you'll naturally be one of the top cultivators in Kelowna. But it's still too early. Lai Kaixing flicked his finger. The black wooden sword flew out of Momo's hand instantly. Half-step Dao fruit! Momo took a deep breath, looking at this gray-haired young man with surprise. He was a bit helpless and bitter. If the godly land wasn't suppressed by the great power of heaven and earth, you would have attained Dao long ago. Dao, querying realm, both mental state and spiritual power were at this level. This was the limit of Kelowna's transcendence. Everyone was searching for the final step, the Dao fruit realm. However, no one in the current world had ever taken that step. However, there was also a hypothesis that there was a special realm above all the Dao querying realm that had yet to reach the true Dao fruit realm. The seed of Dao fruit had been planted, but it couldn't break out of the ground. But it already had some Dao power. It was half-step Dao fruit. 97 reincarnations. How terrifying. Chapter 1145. If it had been an ordinary person, they would have died within a few seconds of such a serious injury. However, Momo was still struggling to get up with a half-kneeling posture. Sometimes it's better not to resist. Get rid of him. Lai Kaixing waved his hand. Miss Gong walked a few steps forward to Momo. Looking at Momo, the secretary of the Dao Association slowly raised her hand. She didn't want to say anything to Momo, but apparently Momo still wanted to struggle. Actually, your boss could have killed me directly with a bit more strength, but he didn't. Instead, he let you do it. Do you know why? Miss Gong frowned. Lai Kaixing was checking the Heaven Heart 71 generation behind her. Hearing this, he slightly tilted his head. He can't kill people. Momo coughed out a mouthful of blood. If he kills people, his cultivation will be broken. Regardless of whether this was an alarmist or a bluff, it succeeded in making Miss Gong frown and stop what she was doing. Even Lai Kaixing turned around slowly, glancing at Miss Gong and Momo. After a moment of silence, he asked, "You know about it?" Bodhi Sanskrit, is it this cultivation method? Momo struggled to get up. The moment he stood up, his body swayed twice and straightened up. The real Buddhism was exterminated by Taoism when the new country was founded. Most of the cultivation methods of Buddhism were destroyed in that catastrophe. There's a very magical Bodhi Sanskrit in Buddhism. It's said that people who cultivate it can accumulate cultivation for generations. But it's a very long time, and it needs to start from the very beginning. But your cotton-clothed sect has the marvelous skill of stowing away time. I think in your cotton-clothed sect's reincarnation, you've probably cultivated in reverse for generations. When the reincarnation ends, your cultivation will naturally return to this generation and finish the most difficult part of Bodhi Sanskrit. Lai Kaixing kept silent, just looking at Momo. The Bodhi Sanskrit mantra can't be compared to many cultivation techniques, but if it can be accumulated for 10 lifetimes, I'm afraid that in terms of cultivation alone, no one in the world will be able to compete with it. It's a pity that this is a Buddhist cultivation technique, especially one that can accumulate cultivation indefinitely. If it didn't have any weaknesses, there wouldn't be any heavenly balance. No matter how high your cultivation is, you can't kill, because once you kill, it is tantamount to going against the essence of Buddhism. Your tens or even hundreds of generations of cultivation will be destroyed in a single day. Lai Kaixing narrowed his eyes. Even now, he didn't show any expression. He just said indifferently, "Did that person tell you?" "No." To Lai Kaixing's surprise, Momo shook his head with a mysterious smile. "You told me that yourself in the reincarnation." In that instant, Lai Kaixing had a moment of absent-mindedness due to his astonishment, and it was during this moment of absent-mindedness that a thick fog had already formed around him. The dense fog came and went quickly, almost in a blink of an eye. However, Momo had disappeared at this moment. "I'll go after him. He's injured, he can't run far," Miss Gong hurriedly said this time. Lai Kaixing shook his head. "No need, this person is destined to have good fortune after surviving a great disaster. Since he could escape this time, it's not his time to die. If you insist on chasing him, It will only make his life more difficult, but also more good fortune. Perhaps you'll lose your life, but his strength has increased greatly. If he attacks again, won't he? Miss Gong wanted to say something, but stopped on second thought. His meridians are all broken, unless he meets a Daluo immortal. It'll be good if we meet him. Perhaps we can have a chance to meet him. Lai Kaixing shook his head, suddenly changing the topic. Go and bring Du Lin out. Gong Sanxiu is about to complete his mission as a vessel. Indeed, Momo didn't manage to escape too far away. He was barely able to walk all the way. His broken meridians made him unable to gather his Fa Li again. His remaining Fa Li was almost used up after releasing the thick fog. He couldn't even suppress the internal bleeding caused by the ruptured internal organs, and even showed signs of death. In this case, it was useless no matter how strong the state of mind was. After all, if the state of mind lost its carrier, it was like the engine lost its body. Unless he planned to die like this, and then turn into a ghost, becoming a ghost cultivator. The city master of the ghost city, Shaoxingma, was a ghost cultivator. Finally, he fell to the ground, coughing up blood with a smile. The Taoist master of Dragon Tiger Mountain reincarnated into a ghost cultivator. Master, should I continue to catch ghosts or ghosts? I'm afraid I'll make you so angry that you'll die 2 years earlier. Cough, cough. Momo slowly closed his eyes, gradually losing his consciousness. Boss, why didn't this young man find you? After Momo lost his consciousness, his cheek was poked with a branch. Nero, who was squatting on the ground, turned her head at this moment. Isn't it normal to not find him if he doesn't want to? Didn't you come and go as you please? Luocha walked over calmly. Besides, he already had a backup plan. Nero stuck out her tongue, frowning. What backup plan? Kelowna's Taoist magic arts are quite magical sometimes. Luocha said indifferently. Although it can't bring someone back from the dead, it can still bring someone back to life. You mean he let himself die first and then bring himself back to life? Nero opened her mouth in surprise. There's such a method! Dragon Tiger Mountain has always dealt with life and death, so it's not surprising that it has such a method. Luocha smiled faintly, but I'm afraid his plan will fail. Come back first. Nero blinked, not quite understanding her boss's words. But at this moment, she keenly felt that something dangerous was approaching her. It was probably her instinct. Nero threw away the branch at once, hurriedly retreating back to Luocha's side. She thought it wasn't safe enough, so she directly retreated to the back of Luocha. This made Boss Luo look at Nero with surprise. Miss Nero blinked and smiled. I remember. The maid's code. When there's danger, I have to stand in front of the boss. But you're more powerful. When I'm as powerful as you, I'll take care of... No, I'll protect you. Boss, look. I won't take care of you for nothing. Luocha shook his head, but still looked back at where Nero pointed. At this moment, a golden light emerged from Momo's body. The golden light began to spread to the ground, spreading little by little. When it came to Luocha's side, the ripples automatically bypassed and continued to spread to further places. At the same time, all the vitality in the places touched by the golden light died in an instant. The grass withered and the trees withered. In an instant, all the plants within 100 meters died completely, but the golden light was still spreading. 100 meters, 200 meters, 300 meters, until it reached a distance of 1,000 meters. Large tracts of trees fell down, and the surroundings became a dead land. Momo's body gradually recovered its color, and his face gradually returned to normal. Boss, does this little brother Justice have such an ability? Nero clicked her tongue. Is he absorbing the vitality around to heal himself? It's similar to the power of an immortal general in Michael. Wait, if that's the case, doesn't this little brother have an infinite lifespan and can crazily gain things from you? The lifespan that can be traded is limited. The value of things stolen will only decrease. Luocha said indifferently, Besides, this is not really his own power. It's not certain whether he can keep it in the future. Well, he's fine. Let's go. Over there. It's about to start. Seeing Luaccio turn around and leave, leaving a straight path in the spreading golden light, Nero stuck out her tongue, and then quickly tiptoed, following behind the boss. Next time, I'll definitely block in front of you. I'm serious. Boss, you have to believe me. In the dead land, Momo just lay on the ground quietly. The rippling golden light shrank back little by little, and finally turned into a light cocoon, wrapping him up completely. Finally, the golden light faded away little by little, seeming to be much weaker. Finally, the golden light dissipated, leaving only a little bit, and then slowly shrank back into Momo's body. His fingers moved slightly, but he didn't wake up yet. By the time they arrived, it was already nighttime. The huge foggy area was now empty with the Mount Tai pilgrimage ground as the center. The bright moonlight was like a silver decoration, covering a layer of tranquility here. But now was not the time to enjoy this tranquility, because there were too many individuals who were beyond mortals gathered here. On the stairs that seemed to reach the sky, one figure after another climbed up at an extremely fast speed. The leaders were Fire Cloud, Evil God, 100 Tribulation Taoist, and Chu Xinghe, and other high officials of the demon clan. Evil God, I didn't expect that I would join hands with you one day. Looking at the end of the stairs, 100 Tribulation Taoist couldn't help but sigh. In the past, this martial madman appeared out of nowhere and challenged everywhere, from the northeast Changbai mountain to the islands in the South Sea, and from the East Sea to the plateau in the west. He didn't stop for 3 whole years, which made all the Tao demons keep quiet out of fear. And after this matter is over, I will make another trip to Kunlun next year. At that time, remember to bring all of your Kunlun's trump cards. Don't be like last time, fighting so feebly. Don't torture this old man anymore. Go find a younger one. Recently, there's a Huang Baifu in the White Tiger clan. You two haven't fought yet, right? The high officials of the demon clan looked at each other and secretly gave 100 Tribulation Taoist a thumbs up. They wanted to cry. It wasn't easy. How did old Ox Nose come up with the idea of bringing these 2 killing stars together? He's too smart, isn't he? Give me a thumbs up. I will. Fire Cloud, Evil God laughed, and then stepped out, instantly surpassing everyone, and became the first person to reach the end of the stairs. Heaven's Heart 71, come out and die. Your Grandpa Fire Cloud is itching for a fight tonight, so I'll find someone to practice with. Fire Cloud, Evil God's power was unrivaled. With this roar, it really caused the space surrounding the mountain to rumble like thunder. Many people who were climbing the stairs below had no choice but to cover their ears. They only felt their scalps go numb. However, by the time the crowd behind them had also ascended the canonization platform, they saw that the huge canonization platform was actually empty. Only the lights that had been installed on the canonization platform for the performance were lit at this time. Why is there no one? Is there a mistake in your information? Song Jinxue frowned and looked directly at Yan Xiaoxi. This time, Yan Xiaoxi was in charge of the operation. Everyone, please calm down. Yan Xiaoxi looked around and said solemnly, Heaven's Heart? It's not like everyone hasn't experienced the terror of the cloth Tao. This place is so quiet that it's almost strange. Be careful of any tricks. Just as Yan Xiaoxi finished speaking, a figure descended from the sky above the huge stone tablet on the ascension platform. Taoism, Heaven's 4 spirits, administration, and Exion's 4 great scholars have all arrived. With this lineup, I'm afraid a small country will be razed to the ground in one night. This person was dressed in black, and his face was covered with a bronze mask, but what was surprising was that one of his arms had a broken palm. But his voice also sounded in the surroundings. This was not the fluctuation of magic power, nor was it demonic power. This was the sound of a martial artist's true power vibrating. As a martial artist, Fire Cloud, Evil God immediately recognized the other party's power system. You're not weak. Fire Cloud, evil god, narrowed his eyes and suddenly soared into the sky. Heaven's heart is really capable. First of all, not only did he recruit a bunch of old guys, he even recruited martial artists. What's the use of this spiritual energy to you? Evil god, don't worry, I've already arranged an opponent for you. The masked man with the broken wrist waved his hand. Suddenly, a figure broke out from the ground below and fiercely collided with Fire Cloud, evil god. This figure and Fire Cloud, evil god punched each other in the air, and with a loud bang, both sides were evenly matched and landed on the ground. What a strong demonic power! Fire Cloud, evil god frowned. The other party was tall and sturdy, and also wore a mask. At this moment, he stood alone in front of the many Tao demons and administration people, and his aura did not lose out at all. But at this moment, among the crowd, the current leader of the Green Dragon clan, Song Jinshui's expression changed slightly. Chu Xinghe, who keenly noticed the change in Song Jinshui's expression, quietly approached and asked in a low voice, "What's wrong?" "No, nothing." Song Jinshui shook his head. "Nothing." Fire Cloud, evil god, snorted coldly. "Your demonic power is so strong. You must not be a nobody, right? Your grandpa Fire Cloud has never fought with people who hide their heads and show their tails. Since things have come to this, it's better to show your identity. Anyway, it's a battle, why hide? Are you afraid of being laughed at? Ha 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 ha. Good courage. You're indeed a rare human expert in modern times. So what if I show up to see you?" He slowly took off the bronze mask on his face, revealing a square face, a deep aura, and as still as a mountain. Standing there like an iron tower, his figure seemed to be infinitely taller, and a huge demonic aura permeated every corner of the pilgrimage platform. Seeing this, Song Jinshui's face suddenly turned pale, and he suddenly exclaimed, Why are you here?" "Song Yuntian, it's you." 100 Tribulations, Taoist, widened his eyes in disbelief. You actually colluded with Tian Xan." This was Song Jinshui's father, the previous leader of the Green Dragon clan, who was once hung on the pillar of shame by Huang Baifu. "My son, hurry up and come to father's side. That person." Song Yuntian waved his sleeve and said sternly. Song Jinshui immediately shivered. He saw that the gazes of the surrounding people had all landed on him. Chapter 1146. Facing the gazes of the crowd, Song Jinshui could only brace himself and stand up. The current patriarch of the Azure Dragon clan instantly had a stern expression on his face. "Humph, who the hell are you? To actually dare to pretend to be my father?" This heaven's will of the 71st generation is already at his wit's end. To actually use such a despicable method. Song Jinshui's voice wasn't particularly loud, but it was transmitted to the ears of the crowd. Many of the demon generals and high-level demons behind him immediately reacted. Speaking of this heaven's will of the 71st generation, he was indeed incomparably cunning, committing all kinds of evil deeds. He even dared to refine a vicious item like the million-soul pearl. There was indeed nothing that he didn't dare to do. Making someone pretend to be the previous patriarch of the Azure Dragon clan, thus shaking the morale of the army, was also reasonable. But was this really as Song Jinshui said? At least, there was a question mark in Chu Xinghe's heart, because before Song Jinshui said those words, his expression had changed a few times. "Unfilial son, you actually dare to say that I'm a fake?" On the side, Song Yuntian angrily glared at Yuan. Song Jinshui inwardly trembled, but at this moment it was impossible to back down, so he could only continue to brace himself. "My father is already in seclusion in the Azure Dragon, sacred ground. Before coming out of the Penglai conference, I even personally paid my respects. You're definitely a fake." At this moment, Song Yuntian roared. Regardless of whether he was a fake or not, that enormous aura couldn't be faked in the slightest. Ha 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 ha. Song Yuntian, looks like you've indeed given birth to a good son, to actually not even recognize your father." As he spoke, 3 figures descended from the sky one after another, landing beside Song Yuntian. Song Yuntian coldly snorted. "This unfilial son dares to not recognize you, but the others also dare to not recognize you. How could you not know the thoughts of these juniors?" Just as Song Yuntian's words fell, the 3 people wearing bronze masks also took off the masks on their faces, revealing their true appearances. Immediately, on the side of the administration, the expressions of Chu Xinghe, Ming Tushan, and the White Tiger commander who had replaced Huang by Fu all greatly changed. The 3 people who descended from the sky were actually the middle-aged elders of their respective 4 heavenly spirit clans. It's so lively today. So many old farts have come. The evil god Firecloud let out a loud laugh as he stared at the severed man standing atop the pilgrimage stone stele. "These are the opponents you found for me? I'm just afraid that their bones will become loose and they won't be able to withstand a beating." "Old man Huiyin, why do you have so much nonsense to say? If you want to find someone to practice with, Grandpa who will accompany you." While speaking, a tiger roar suddenly sounded. A white-haired and white-bearded old man beside Song Yuntian suddenly flew out and exchanged a punch with the fire cloud evil god. Immediately, the entire pilgrimage platform began to shake. "Blind man, it's 2 of us. This isn't a duel. We're ganging up on him." As he spoke, the fire cloud evil god once again rose to his feet. "Little, she 100 Calamity Ox knows, and the others are in charge of flattening this place. Whoever resists, kill them all. Listen carefully. What I said is, kill without mercy." An enormous killing intent instantly spread out and enveloped the entire peak of Mount Tai. This sentence, "kill without mercy," is like a thunderclap as it frantically booms in the ears of the current few Heaven Force Spirit Clans managers, causing their scalps to go numb. At the same time, it is also a warning to them. The fire cloud evil god who soared into the sky actually pulls out a huge tiger bone long blade. No matter if you are a white tiger or a fake white tiger, this tiger soul blade is suitable to chop you. Countless blade shadows instantly hack towards the white-haired and white-bearded old man. And within these layers of blade shadows, there is even more hidden a sharp, cold light. An ancient sword instantly jumps out from the blade shadows and points straight at Song Yuntian. On this side, Song Yuntian and the white-haired and white-bearded old man, as well as the other 2 huge demons, simultaneously make their move to meet the fire cloud evil god, as well as Mr. Blind, who is secretly attacking. On the other side, under the command of the fire cloud evil god, Yan Xiaoxi hurriedly calls everyone over and finds the severed man on the stone stele. Clan leader Tsang, priest Chu, and the others, please lend me a hand. Of course. Song Jinshui inhales deeply and nods. Now it is probably time for them to truly pick a side. Kill. It was unknown who said it, but immediately dozens of silhouettes rushed toward the person with the severed wrist at the stone stele. However, the severed man was even calmer at this moment. Facing the valiant army charging towards him, he directly raised his arm high. Defend the pilgrimage platform to the death. In a flash, the space behind the severed man surges, and dozens of black-robed men charged out together. They passed by the severed man and directly faced the group of Tao demons and the administration's joint team in front. In an instant, the entire peak of Mount Tai ushered in a vast and mighty, chaotic battle. However, in this fierce, chaotic battle, the joint team has the advantage in numbers after all. Seeing the dozens of black-robed men being pushed back by the joint team's charge, the severed man could only slowly sigh in relief. After all, they're all old fellows who have already declined after their peak. It's already good that they can do this much. He looked at the battle around him in silence and finally said in a low voice, "You guys have joined the battle too, right?" As the severed man finished speaking, A huge, white flame instantly soared into the sky from the peak of Mount Tai. Amidst this monstrous aura, 36 figures instantly charged into the battle. These 36 people did not wear black clothes. Instead, they wore silver leather armor and silver general helmets. Each of them held a golden spear in their hands. The 36 of them were like a magnificent army. Under the terrifying white flames, there seemed to be a special joint attack formation. Every time they attacked, a Taoist or a demon would fall and die under the terrifying power of the joint attack. These 36 people are like a magnificent army, and they are all martial cultivators. Sure enough, they are from the Xianyuan Palace. The fire cloud evil god, who was being held back by 2 giant monsters, glanced at the scene and recalled Gong Sun Shiu, who had stopped him during the battle of the 6th Jade Dragon Pillar. How could he not understand the Xianyuan Palace was also involved in the 71 generation of Sky Heart's futile attempt to restore the spirit chi? Section Chief, Yen, they're using a battle array. You can't fight them head-on. If you want to fight, you have to attack the person holding the line so that you can break the array. Mr. Blind's voice suddenly sounded. 36 heavenly stars. Attack heavenly wounds first, then heavenly fullness, and then heavenly wisdom. Hearing Mr. Blind's instructions, Yen Xiaoxi hurriedly commanded everyone to attack the heavenly star in the battle array. I didn't expect there to be an expert here, but do you think this battle array only has one change? At the same time, the severed man on the stone steel sneered. Then he took out a battle flag and waved it. Change the array. Heavenly stars, flying bird. The 36 silver-armored generals who had reorganized their battle array once again gained the upper hand. Although the members of this joint force were all skilled and powerful, most of them were used to fighting one-on-one and had never practiced any joint combat. In this chaotic battle, it was difficult for them to even use 70% of their strength, mainly because they were afraid that they would accidentally injure others if they used their big moves. The fierce battle continued. The demon power and magic power on the peak of Mount Tai were mixed and stirred the wind and clouds. Although night had fallen, it was difficult to cover it. If it weren't for the fact that the surroundings of Mount Tai had become a land of death, it probably wouldn't have been able to cover it up with a joke of which fellow Taoist is undergoing tribulation here. A pair of crimson eyes were silently watching all of this. A petite figure, Su Zijuan. Beside Su Zijuan was Chi-Chi Kamaya. Ghost Child was left in the villa to watch over a certain Shinryu who was trapped. Chi-Chi Kamaya's expression was solemn. In the end, he sighed. I didn't expect Gong Sun Shiu to bring out the 36 Heavenly Stars generals. At first, I thought he was only mobilizing some radical youngsters from the Qian division. 36 Heavenly Stars. Each of them has a set of mysterious silver battle armor and a golden flood dragon spear. They probably even ate secret medicine. Very good. Su Zijuan sneered. Since when can a member of the Qian division mobilize the 36 Heavenly Stars? Princess Gong Sun Shiu is different. Chi-Chi Kamaya sighed. He also inherited the Yellow Emperor's bloodline and is the pride of the Gong Sun clan. Moreover, his engagement with you is still valid. Are you blaming me? Su Zijuan looked at Chi-Chi Kamaya fiercely. Chi-Chi Kamaya shrugged. That's not the case. However, the 36 Heavenly Stars listen to Xuanyuan's bloodline. As long as you give the order, they will definitely stop. How about... Stop what? Su Zijuan sneered. Beat them, continue beating them. It would be best if they were beaten to death. I can't wait for this Tianxin Generation 71 to recover the spiritual energy. Let me tell you, I spent a lot of money to make this spiritual energy recovery complete smoothly. Princess Yu. Suddenly, Chi-Chi Kamaya seemed to have realized something. His expression changed drastically. Could it be, when that time comes, I will have a reason to make a move? Su Zijuan said indifferently. This god-slaying sword is very noisy in my body every day. It's time to find someone to sacrifice to it. I'm afraid that blood will flow like a river. Chichikamaya's face turned pale. Su Zijuan snorted coldly. What do you know? It's like menstruation. If the dirty blood is not expelled, the body will not feel comfortable. I haven't been to Red Dragon for hundreds of years. It's time to expel the poison. Image, Image. Why do I need Image in front of an old turtle like you? Su Zijuan raised her leg and kicked Chichikamaya down. Go and work. Don't be lazy. In the thick fog. Your Honor. This subordinate suddenly has an uneasy feeling. As she spoke, she was looking at the wooden house in front of her. At this moment, the door of the wooden house was pushed open by a strong wind. A man in a yellow robe walked out slowly. His lips were stained with blood. Behind him, one could faintly see a figure that had fallen to the ground. She hurriedly lowered her head. Your Honor, how do you feel? The man in the yellow robe said indifferently, the bloodline is too thin. It's incomparable to Song Howren's, but it's better than nothing. It can be considered to have earned me more time. Gong Fanqing hurriedly said, but we've searched the entire Song village. Only this person is still here because he's afraid. The others have probably retreated with the others. Now, I can roughly feel the direction they're moving in. The man in the yellow robe said indifferently, You don't have to worry about this. Just now you said that you feel uneasy. I feel a little uneasy too. It seems that something big is about to happen. It seems to be coming from Mount Tai, pilgrimage platform. The man in the yellow robe lowered his head and pondered for a moment. Then he made a prompt decision. The most important thing now is for me to find more descendants. This is not the first time that something big has happened. Don't make a fuss about it. Yes. Everyone, hold on a little longer. I know it's hard to walk at night, but hold on a little longer so that we can leave this thick fog earlier. In the huge group, the soldiers kept encouraging the people who had just survived the disaster. When Lung Feng woke up, he was only at the edge of a huge pit. As for what had happened in the pit, he couldn't feel anything at all. At this time, a young man named Bugao suddenly appeared in front of him. He claimed that he was from that special organization and that he was almost killed in this trip. Lung Feng didn't believe this Bugao. He had been on guard all this time. Report, we didn't find the Miss Rin you mentioned. The adjutant ran over and whispered in Lung Feng's ear. Lung Feng could only sigh. Then he forced himself to stay alert. When he woke up, he once again shouldered the heavy responsibility of bringing these tens of thousands of people out of danger safely. Hopefully this time there won't be any problems. Lung Feng silently looked at Bugao, who was leading the way, and the other guy who called himself Wang Hu. At the very front, Bugao was thinking about how much credit he could get after bringing these people out of here. Unexpectedly, Wang Hu suddenly stopped at this moment. He turned around to look back and stood there motionless. What's wrong, big brother? Did you find something? Bugao completely relied on Wang Hu. When he saw Wang Hu's expression, he instantly panicked. Could it be that there are still people in that group of suicidal maniacs? I feel like something happened over there. Wang Hu frowned. Do you want to go and take a look? Bugao was stunned. No. Wang Hu shook his head. It's not my problem. Okay. Bugao shrugged. Then he tiptoed and put his arm on Wang Hu's shoulder. Brother Wang Hu, do you think we should give ourselves a nickname after we start our careers? Nickname? Yes. Bugao said matter-of-factly. Isn't it scary just by saying it? Names are very important when we're out in the pugilistic world. I don't understand. Wang Hu shook his head. Forget it, forget it. Let me worry about these things. Bugao patted his chest and said, in short, don't worry. I will arrange everything clearly for you in the future. I will never treat you badly. In short, we will enjoy the blessings together and take the credit together. I got it. I got it. I got it. I thought of a good nickname. Look, Brother Wang Hu, you are so fierce. You are full of masculinity. As for me, I'm another rising star of the agency, just like the morning sun. Why don't we call ourselves the Rising Sun Yang Gang? Oh, boss, what are we doing here? Aren't we going to the Fengshan platform? Nero glanced at the chic villa in front of her. She wanted to say that it was chic because this place looked like 2/3 of it had been smashed by something. Now, it was like a lonely, half-demolished building. This is the place to work. Luocio smiled slightly. The guest entrusted it. Let's start from here. Although this place looked like a dangerous building, Boss Luo, who had always been very polite, still went to the other side of the chic villa that was still intact and knocked on the door. Coming, coming. A hurried voice sounded, followed by the sound of running. The door was suddenly opened. A pair of big watery eyes opened wider after seeing Boss Luo. Boss. The one who opened the door was Luo Dance. Chapter 1147. Tea. In the living room, Luo Dance brought 2 cups of freshly brewed tea to Luo Chiu and Nero. Ghost Baby was still at the entrance of the living room at this time. Unlike the defenseless Luo Dance, Ghost Baby was fully alert at this time. Are you cooking? Luo Chiu picked up the teacup and took a sip. He then looked at Luo Dance and asked with a smile. The reason was very simple. When he opened the door, the little guy was wearing an apron and running out in a hurry. There was even something like flour on his face. At this time, the boss pointed to his cheek. Luo Dance reacted and quickly wiped it with both hands. I'm eating the cake. Cake? The little butterfly monster nodded. Last time in your house, sister, you taught me how to make a cake. She said that desserts could make people feel better. I usually feel very happy when I eat sweet things. That's your instinct. Luocio smiled. The little butterfly monster smiled with a red face. Miss Nero sipped her tea silently at the side. Her eyes flickered as she looked back and forth between the girl who held the apron up to a special height and the boss. Her eyes gradually curved into crescent moons. Damn, it was rare to see the boss smile to others, and it was a relaxed kind. Is anyone in a bad mood? Luocio asked suddenly. Yes, Sister Long, she. Luo Dance, who didn't have any defense against the boss, nodded and was about to say something. Unexpectedly, Ghost Baby, who was leaning against the wall, suddenly coughed twice. Luo Dance immediately closed her mouth. But who was the boss? How could he not hear a word of this? What's wrong with Miss Long? Sister Long, she fell asleep. She's not unhappy. Do you feel hot? No, not as sweaty as you. You can relax your body, it's too stiff. The little butterfly monster. Luo Dance turned her head slowly and looked at Ghost Baby with misty eyes. Ghost Baby was expressionless at this time, saying coldly, Lord Long is not here. If you want to find him, you can go. If you have something to tell him, just leave and I'll tell him later. We don't entertain strangers here. Sister Nero stood up at this time and narrowed her eyes. A cold killing intent began to spread in the living room. Ghost Baby frowned. He couldn't help but be moved by this level of killing intent. This level of killing intent was enough to make the little butterfly monster panic. She looked left and right and finally looked at the boss anxiously. It's all right. Luo Chiu asked in a low voice, Is the cake ready? If it's ready, can you invite me and my friend to eat it? Okay. I'll get it right away. Luo Dance nodded like a chick pecking rice. The strong killing intent suddenly disappeared. Nero sat down carelessly and said with a smile, Let's have another drink. Seeing Luo Dance lowering her head and leaving with the cup, Ghost Baby sighed secretly. At the same time, he took a deep breath and put down his hands instantly. 2 strange daggers suddenly appeared in his hands. I don't mean to send Dance away. I really want to see the taste. I like this child very much, and it's very interesting to see her grow up little by little. I digress. Luocio said indifferently, Actually, I don't mean to fight with you. Mr. Ghost Baby, have you ever thought about why Miss Zijuan invited Miss Long to the room downstairs? What do you mean? Ghost Baby frowned, but he was secretly shocked. How did this person know? So many things have happened outside, Mr. Ghost Baby. Don't you think it's unreasonable to do so? Luocho looked at Ghost Baby and smiled slightly. Did Big Sister ask you to come? Ghost Baby looked at Luocho suspiciously. I won't disturb you for too long. Luocho stood up and walked out of the living room. He walked past Ghost Baby and went out of the door. Hey, boss, where are you going? Little Butterfly came back with food. Don't you want to eat? Luocho took a cut cake from the tray. I'll be back later. Can you help me entertain my companion? Oh, okay. Little Butterfly nodded. Luocho walked towards the end of the corridor. It was a bit strange, but Luo Dance still walked into the living room with the food first. Ghost Baby was standing at the entrance of the living room. He was not leaning against the wall. Mr. Ghost Baby, what's wrong with you? I can't move. Ghost Baby's eyes were full of horror. Luo Dance was stunned, but at this time, she suddenly felt her shoulder was heavy and then her chest was scratched by something, which scared Little Butterfly and made a chirp sound. You're really something. Nero patted the Little Butterfly monster's shoulder at this time and blew hot air into her ear with a smile. Yeah, the boss asked you to take care of me. There was a knock on the door. Miss Long, may I come in? In the basement, Long Shirua frowned when she heard the sound. She thought it was an auditory hallucination, but it was almost impossible for her to have auditory hallucination. Why did this guy come? But before Long Shirua figured out how to react, the door had been opened and Luocho's familiar face suddenly appeared in Long Shirua's sight. In an instant, Long Shirua stamped her legs. The door was opened and her first thought was to leave this place. Unexpectedly, when she rushed past Luocho and rushed out of the door, she bumped into something soft and stopped. Kelowna's little Shinryu turned around and glared at him. What do you mean? Luocho looked around the room. The things here were in a mess. Basically, he couldn't find an intact place. Everything had been smashed. Without answering Long Shirua's question, Luocho walked into the room and stretched out his finger to restore the fallen chair and tea table to their original state. After that, he put the small fork and the plate with the cake on the tea table. Dance said you were unhappy and wanted to make some desserts to cheer you up. Miss Long, don't you want to eat? Oh. Long Shirua sneered. That's really an honor. What do I do to deserve Boss Luo to deliver food to me personally? That kid is really worried about you. Luocho said softly. Maybe she's not skilled enough and made herself look like a cat with a dirty face and messy hair. I warn you, you'd better not lay your hands on Dance. Miss Long, frankly. Luocho turned around. Do you have the ability to resist now? I think the only thing you can do now is to smash the things in this room. Her hands clenched into fists under her body and trembled slightly. Obviously, it was not because of fear, but because of the restlessness in her heart. But soon she loosened her fists and raised her hand, sneering. Boss Luo, I didn't know you could speak so harshly. I thought you're a guy who always wears a mask. Why? There's no one around, so you're showing your true face. Cake, don't you want to eat it? Luocho smiled and suddenly asked. Why did you come to me? Long Shirua stared at Luocho. To see me like this? Really? Luocho asked again. You're so annoying. Luocho sighed then. I'll start. I'm sorry, Miss Long, for offending you next. What? Long Shirua was stunned. Before she could react, she felt something pulling her body, making her involuntarily walk to Luocho. This step-by-step approach made Kelowna Shinryu feel an inexplicable fear that she had never felt before. You, what do you want to do? Closer and closer, his face and his words were getting closer and closer. You, what do you want to do? I'm telling you, don't mess around. Luocho was expressionless, sitting on the chair, while Long Shirua walked to his side and slowly lay down on Boss Luo's legs. Yes, she lay down. This posture made Long Shirua not only frightened, but also ashamed. She was shocked, angry, and ashamed, roaring, "Bastard! What do you want to do?" Slap. Suddenly, Long Shirua's pupils dilated as she felt being hit on her buttocks. The world seemed to become black and white in her eyes. She could only feel the sound of the strike reverberating in her mind. It was like heavenly thunder, almost exploding all of her nerves. Even after a few seconds, she still couldn't react. However, it was clear that the matter of offending was now clear. "You, what did you do to me?" She turned her neck stiffly, looking at Luocchio's side face. She was shocked, but more inconceivable and absent-minded. But what she saw was her boss's extremely indifferent eyes and his raised and falling palm. His palm once again hit towards the same place. "No, no!" Slap. There was another clear sound of a hit. "Bastard, bastard, I'll kill you! I'll kill you! I'll kill you!" Ah! 3 hits. Bastard. For hits? Luo Dance raised her head thoughtfully, feeling as if she had heard something strange. "Don't stop. This kind of service attitude is not good. Little sister. So sorry." Hearing Nero's voice, the little butterfly monster immediately squeezed her shoulders hard. She thought it was something difficult, but if it was just like this, it was nothing. When she was in the pet hospital, she often massaged the shoulders and waist of those grandpas and aunties waiting for treatment. "Miss Nero, is this strength okay?" Nero leaned on the little butterfly monster's chest, squinting her eyes and giving a thumbs up. "Super high!" "I'm glad you like it." She stuffed a piece of cake into her mouth and swallowed it in no time. "Are you worried about that Sister Long of yours? Did the boss go to find Sister Long?" Luo Dance stopped. "Why? Do you want to be punished like that one?" Nero glanced a ghost baby at the door of the living room. "I'm afraid it's not good for your waist if you stand for too long, little sister." Luo Dance shook her head, faintly saying, "I know if the boss wants to do something, no one can stop him. Even Sister Long can't." "Oh, I see. You're afraid that my boss will do something bad to your Sister Long, right?" Nero giggled. "Let me tell you, my boss likes to do all kinds of things to girls. The boss is not that kind of person." The butterfly monster, who was as soft as cream, unexpectedly became tough at this moment. The heavy tone made Nero a little stunned. She raised her head and looked at the little butterfly monster's chin. "Really? The boss is very kind to people and never does bad things to people." Nero sneered. "Are you so sure? Can you see what he has done? Maybe he's just acting like what you're looking for in front of you. But in essence, he's a demon in human skin." "Don't say that about the boss." "If you say that again, I will. Huh." Nero didn't even blink. "What?" I. Luo Dance closed her eyes, clenching her fists and blushing. "I will be angry." Puff. Ha 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 ha. Nero covered her stomach, kicking her legs on the sofa and laughing loudly. She laughed so hard that tears seemed to come out of her eyes. What are you laughing at? I'm very serious." Okay, I won't say it." Nero stopped laughing. "Besides, I am afraid that I will never be able to come out again after going back. There is a real demon at home." Luo Dance blinked her eyes, indicating that she didn't understand. Nero shook her head, picking up the last piece of cake and preparing to bite it. "Maybe the boss is really a good person." "Alas! This is the last piece. I have to leave it for the boss." Nero suddenly stopped the cake in her mouth, looking at the blushing butterfly, muttering, "I begin to understand why the boss likes you so much." "Oh." Nero smiled and ate the last piece of cake in front of Luo Dance's eyes, revealing a smile that only a naughty child would have. Clap. She couldn't remember how many times it had been. In this secret basement, there was only the sound of hitting, which was almost the same in both interval and strength. Kelowna's Shinryu had changed from cursing at the beginning. She couldn't resist, couldn't move her body, to silence, and now her eyes were blank. Finally, the boss's hand stopped. At least the interval was broken. This made Long Shirua raise her head slowly. At this moment, there was a mirror in front of her, and on the mirror, there was a reflection of the scene. The way she looked as if she was being humiliated while lying on her stomach. The man in the mirror looked at her in the mirror. "What can you do?" Luocho asked slowly. He raised his hand again. In the mirror, this movement seemed to be very slow, and she could see it clearly. This time he said, "You can do nothing." Chapter 1148. Clouds, waterfalls, flying cranes, spirit beasts. Between the mountains, there were rivers flowing. Between the two sides, on the cliffs, there were flowers falling. Xianyuan Palace. The clan under the palace was where Gong's Sun family people lived, and in the caves among the mountains, tamed spirit creatures lived one after another. Huge birds and beasts flew across the water, making the waves ripple. Children played by the river, happy and contented. If it wasn't for the sound of the horn that broke the peace at this moment, the women were busy taking their children home, and the men in the tribe were rushing to the palace on the mountain. At the same time, the monsters of the Kuan clan who lived in the caves also left on clouds. In the square outside the palace, the warriors of the Gong Sun clan stood in a formation. Although the monsters on the side couldn't stand in a neat formation, they tried their best to stand in a disorderly manner. They tried to be as quiet as possible, because the one standing at the gate of the palace was the emperor of this world, named Xianyuan. He was the descendant of the ruler of the world, Xianyuan Tiexin. "Greetings, palace master!" "Greetings, palace master!" Even though the human race in the outside world already had emperors, they were still willing to admit that he was the real emperor. But Xianyuan didn't call himself emperor anymore. "Do you know why I'm worried about you?" Xianyuan Tiexin's voice fell in everyone's ears. He was the most powerful person in the world today. The people below whispered to each other. This horn was called Heaven Shocking Horn. It was only played when something important happened in the palace, or when the Xianyuan Palace needed to go to war. "Palace master, we don't know. I'm going to punish someone today." Xianyuan Tiexin glanced at all the people and monsters below with a cold face. "The person I'm going to punish is my daughter, Xianyuan Shirua, and myself." "What? Punish the princess? What's the matter?" The people below all stood up. "Chichi Kamaya." Xianyuan Tiexin waved his sleeve. Suddenly, an old man with gray hair walked out with a gloomy face. He lifted the rest of his robe and knelt down. "Let me ask you, when we go to war against the mantis demons, all of our Xianyuan Palace disciples who flee before the battle, what should be the punishment?" Xianyuan Tiexin asked in a deep voice. Reporting to the palace lord, based on his crimes, he should be beheaded. Chichi Kamaya lowered his head. His voice sounded weak. No one knew why Xianyuan Tiexin had suddenly brought this up, but many people seemed to have guessed something. A few months ago, Xianyuan Palace had sent out a large-scale invasion of hybrid demons. This battle had been exceptionally fierce, and Xianyuan Palace had even damaged their foundation, greatly damaging their vitality. In this desperate battle, some of the young generals and Yao in the clan secretly fled after the matter was dealt with by the hybrid demons. These deserters were all captured and brought back. In terms of days, it was about time for this batch of deserters to be executed. Let me ask you again, what is the punishment for releasing a criminal in the palace? In terms of crime, speak. In terms of punishment, one should withdraw one's power and receive the punishment of being struck by lightning. If the circumstances are serious, one should receive whipping while being struck by lightning. Very good. Xianyuan Tiexin nodded. Then he stepped out and walked down the stairs step by step. Xianyuan Shirua secretly released 57 deserters and 39 demons. Her punishment is 99 lightning strikes and 99 dragon whips. Men, carry out the punishment. Palace Lord, please reconsider. You mustn't. Carry out the punishment. Golden armored warriors, listen up. Carry out the punishment. Those who violate the punishment will be expelled from Shenyuan Palace. Palace Lord, please reconsider. Please reconsider. Princess Shaw is still young. She can't withstand such punishment. Bring her out. No one can plead for mercy. Inside the palace, several golden armored warriors brought out a haggard-looking young girl who was no more than 12 or 13 years old. They slowly brought her to the execution platform and tied her to a dragon pillar. Carry out the punishment. Instantly, the sky flashed and a huge bolt of lightning struck down. This was the divine lightning released by the secret treasure of Shenyuan Palace. The huge bolt of lightning struck the young girl's body. Instantly, a shrill scream echoed throughout the square. At the same time, a whip holder slowly walked up to the execution platform. The whip in his hand was specially made from the long tendons of a dragon from overseas. When he hit someone, he could directly lash their soul and cause heart-wrenching pain. Princess, I'm sorry. The long whip struck the young girl's back, instantly tearing her delicate back open. She was already unconscious after being struck by lightning. Now that the whip hit her again, she immediately woke up from the pain. Lightning strikes, whip strikes, lightning strikes, whip strikes. Screams sounded in the square. Both the Gongsun clan and the Kuan clan's demons turned their faces away at this moment. Shenyuan Tiexin's will couldn't be changed. Princess Shira was mischievous but cute. She was kind-hearted and loved by everyone. However, under Shenyuan Tiexin's majesty, everyone and the demons could only feel pain in their hearts. The thunder and the screams didn't stop. Every second was more painful than the last. The young girl who was tied to the dragon pillar had been tortured so much that she didn't even look like a human anymore. Finally, the young girl couldn't hold on any longer. No matter how the lightning struck her, no matter how hard the whip whipped her, she didn't react. Enough! 99, that's enough! Palace Master, that's enough! The people and the demons all kneeled down, tears streaming down their faces. Palace Master, please stop! Finally, the 99th lightning strike was finished, and so was the 99th whip. The whip holder directly knelt down on the execution platform. Shenyuan Tiexin snorted coldly. Now, remove the name of Shirua Shoa and put her in the worried eagle stream for 10 years. Then, Shenyuan Tiexin waved his sleeves and walked into the cold Shenyuan Palace's great hall. The worried eagle stream was a place used by the Shenyuan Palace to imprison serious criminals and evil monsters. In this place, all cultivators and monsters couldn't use their powers. They had to wear shackles and handcuffs and be soaked in the ice every day. After Shirua came down from the execution platform, it took her almost a year to heal her wounds. Then, she started to be soaked in the ice. The cold was bone-chilling. The power of the Shenyuan royal family was no different from that of an ordinary person. The young girl was dragged out of the ice almost every day. She lived in a cave with only one stone bed. Princess, Princess, this is a medicinal soup made with blood ginseng. Drink it. It can drive away the cold. When she woke up, Shirua shivered. She lost consciousness in the ice again because of the cold and was dragged back to the cave by the guards. Looking at the steaming medicinal soup, she had an impulse to drink it up, which almost made her lose her mind. Chichi Kamaya, my father said that no one is allowed to see me in these 10 years, and no one is allowed to treat me well in any way. This year, the guards outside have been changed one after another. How many have been punished? I am already so old. If the palace master wants to punish me, can he really pull out my tendons and skin me alive? Chichi Kamaya sat down and said earnestly, Princess, your temper is just like your father's. Even if you have royal blood, you won't be able to withstand 10 years of soaking in the ice. Listen to me, drink the medicinal soup. Shirua shook her head and lay down. She turned around and said, If you really want to help me, just leave. Let me have a good rest and recover my strength. Chichi Kamaya sighed and looked at the medicinal soup that was getting cold. He sighed and said, "Princess, do you regret letting those criminals go?" "What's there to regret? I let them go. I know the consequences," Shirua said in a low voice. "They are not at the age to go to the battlefield." "So what if they are from the Xianyuan Palace? Who made the rule that the disciples of the Xianyuan Palace have to suffer this kind of fate? If he doesn't let them go, I will." "Princess, actually your father's heart is bleeding every time he executes someone. Do you really think he can bear to see those young faces being killed by the fiends?" Chichi Kamaya sighed, "But this is an iron rule. Your father, he has no choice. He can't break the rules of the palace." "I know," Shirua said faintly. "I know that the place where he cried the most was in front of the criminal's grave when he was alone. Father can't make mistakes. Then let me make mistakes for him. You father and daughter. Clap!" She couldn't remember how many times it was, as if she had become numb. She didn't know why she would think of that long ago. In the mirror, nothing seemed to have changed. "You can't do anything." These words echoed in his ears, in his mind, and in his heart, as though they were incantations carved into his bones. Shinryu's power can make you invincible in this world. You can change the structure of the world, but you can't change people's hearts. You want to change people's hearts, but Dang Wong still walked out of the dragon sealing stone. Millions of people still died. This country is still in chaos. You can't do anything. The beating didn't stop. Long Shirua went from being absent-minded to being frightened. Mountains of corpses and seas of blood were like flickering shadows in front of her. They didn't do anything wrong. They did it to survive. They didn't do anything wrong. They also did it to survive. As for you, you inherited the power of the true dragon, and at the same time, you also inherited the fate of the true dragon. Times are changing and humans and fae are in decline. You can only stand on the side of prosperity, and you are vainly trying to balance both sides. The fae respect you, and the humans revere you, but you can't do anything. You don't dare to side with humans, and you don't dare to care for monsters. Invincible in this world, you can't do anything. Stop talking. You're weaker than anyone else. You're more cowardly than them. You're more cowardly than them. You don't rule by doing anything. You coldly watch as the monsters and humans develop on their own. It's not because you're high and mighty, but because you can't do anything. Because everything you do is wrong. Humans will point fingers at you, and monsters will hate you. You're afraid, so you don't dare to do anything. Shut up. No one pitied you, because everyone thinks you deserve it. Because you have invincible power, because you're the guardian of Kelowna. How can the guardian of Kelowna not be strong? The guardian of Kelowna can't lose. The guardian of Kelowna can't make mistakes. You need to be smart and see the world clearly. You can't be high and mighty, but you can only be high and mighty. Only then can you meet everyone's expectations. But you can't do anything. Bastard. 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 I'll kill you. You can't really kill anyone, because you're almost a saint in their hearts. Everything you say, everything you do, there are countless voices talking about you behind your back. Some are smart, some are self-righteous, some are arrogant, some are just talking, some are gentlemen, some are villains. Countless comments and countless standards are given to you. You can't refute them, because you're the Shinryu, so you can't do anything. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? She didn't know when she could move again. It was as if she didn't realize. She suddenly propped herself up and grabbed Luachio's collar. You think I want to. 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 Every step I take is wrong. Every word I say is wrong. Even breathing is wrong. I shouldn't exist, right? Then what are you willing to do? Luachio asked softly. I also want to do nothing. Don't come looking for me if there's any trouble. Kelowna Shinryu, go to hell. I also want to stay at home and watch TV shows all day long. I also want to be a keyboard warrior. I don't have to take responsibility for messing around. I also want to find a man. I also want to be an ordinary person and live a drunken life. You think I don't want to. You think I don't want to. You think I don't want to. She pounded on Luo Chio's chest with all her strength. I want to do it all. Why do you have to appear in front of me? Why do you have to hit me? What right do you have to hit me? What right do you have? What right do you have? Her angry voice was low and hoarse. She clutched Luocchio's clothes tightly and lowered her head. She pounded his chest again and again. What right do you have to hit me? Are you willing to use Shinryu's power in exchange for everything you want? Luocchio asked softly. Long Shirua stopped and opened her eyes. She watched as her tears fell and seeped into this man's clothes. She slowly raised her head. Are you willing? She slowly opened her mouth. It was as if something was trying to break out of her throat. These words seemed to be from that bowl of blood ginseng soup that was placed in front of her many years ago. Are you willing? His voice didn't reach her, but it reached her heart. It reached her ears when she was young and soaked in the icy river. Long Shirua's lips moved slightly. At this moment, she and Luocchio looked at each other. This man who had inherited more power than Shinryu, as long as he was willing, he could change the world with a single thought. He was incomparably powerful. It was as if another her had the ability to solve any problem. Perfect. Flawless. Are you willing? She suddenly quivered. The words that rushed to her mouth disappeared in an instant. She suddenly grabbed Luocchio's palm and bit it hard. While biting, she stared at this man's eyes. But Luocchio withdrew all the power to protect himself and let her bite his palm until it bled. I can only hold on for 10 seconds at most. Luocchio whispered. You have to let go within 10 seconds. Miss Long otherwise. I'm afraid you'll be hurt. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. For they still looked at each other. Long Shirua could see a touch of pain between this man's eyebrows. He was enduring it, but his eyes were still so gentle. She knew that he had always been very gentle. 3, 2, 1. Let go. Restore me back to normal. Long Shirua suddenly climbed down from Luocchio's body. She looked at the man who made her feel more and more nervous. You said it before. Don't think of denying it. Of course. Luocchio smiled slightly. At this time, the wound on his palm recovered, little by little. The blood that spread out also flowed back little by little. Even the blood that stained Long Shira's lips also separated and returned little by little. His palm was as white as before again. On his body, there was an invisible layer that seemed to be impossible to break. At this moment, she clearly felt it. She also felt that boundless power that came from the earth. Her clothes didn't show any tear because of the change of her body. Instead, with the recovery of her body, the clothes also changed their size little by little. When she returned to her original self, she was unscathed. Miss Long's condition seems to be much better. Luocchio stood up from the chair. Then I won't disturb you. Luocchio smiled and walked past Long Shirua. Wait a minute. Is there anything else? Long Shirua gritted her teeth and turned around. Is it Su Zijuan, that stinky girl, who asked you to come? Luocchio smiled and didn't answer the question. He just pointed at the cake on the table. Don't waste it. It's hard to make. Seeing Luocchio walk out of the door and was about to disappear in the corridor, Long Shirua stomped her feet and said angrily, Bastard! Don't think that we're even. You did that to me. Do you think that by biting me, everything will be fine? I won't let you off. Profiteer, bastard, stinky man. Chapter 1149. When Luocchio returned to the living room, Luo Dance was not there. Nero was lying on the sofa and sleeping like a loser, like Rinziling that Luocchio had a sense of déjà vu. As for Ghost Baby, he didn't seem to move at all. Sorry to keep you waiting. When passing by Ghost Baby, Luocho said softly. Then a black card with a golden mark appeared in front of Ghost Baby and flew into his suit pocket. Ghost Baby could move instantly, but he was still surprised. "Mr. Ghost Baby, if you have the opportunity to visit my store, I'll give you a discount." The black card just now was probably a certificate. Ghost Baby thought secretly. After being able to move, Ghost Baby didn't speak and didn't have any intention to use force. In the past, he only knew that there was an invincible Shinryu and a powerful secret place like Shenyuan Palace, but now there was a boss in this world. Luocho came to Nero. She seemed to feel nothing and just fell asleep. No one knew whether she was really open-minded or just going with the flow. Luocho looked at her for a while and suddenly stretched out his hand. He put 2 fingers on Nero's forehead and then slowly moved down to her eyelids. Now that Nero had become a black soul messenger, the vision seed planted before didn't seem to be of much use. But Nero still reacted. She suddenly stretched out her hand and grabbed Luocho's wrist. "Boss, if you want to touch me, just say it. Anyway, I won't refuse. Why do you wait for me to fall asleep? Do you like the feeling of eating secretly? You're awake. Let's go. Things here have been done." Luocho ignored her and took back his hand. Nero yawned and jumped up from the sofa. She stood up and then stretched herself. Then she squinted and said, "I won't touch you next time. I'll pretend I don't know anything." Luocho continued to ignore her. Boss Luo turned to look at Ghost Child and nodded. "Mr. Ghost Child, sorry for disturbing you today." "You're welcome," Ghost Child said reluctantly. When leaving, Luocho met the butterfly monster Luo Dance in the corridor again. Just like before, the little girl was holding a piece of cake in her hand. However, this time there was still steam coming out of it. Presumably it had just been made. "Boss, are you leaving?" The little butterfly monster was a little disappointed. "Yes, I'm done here." Luocho smiled slightly. After thinking for a while, he took the plate from Luo Dance's hand and started to eat the cake he had just made. When the boss ate, he didn't stuff food into his mouth like Nero, but he wasn't slow either. Don't waste other people's good intentions. I remember someone once taught me this. Putting the fork back on the plate, Luocho asked softly, "Did you use nectar?" "It's winter nectar. I picked some wildflowers in the back garden and nearby." Luo Dance nodded. Then she thought of something and waved her hand quickly. I picked it by hand. I didn't suck it. Boss, don't worry. As long as it's delicious." Luocho smiled. "I haven't been to Chen's steamed bun shop for a long time. If you have time, let's go there. I'll treat you to some steamed buns with sugar filling." "Okay, let's go back. Your sister-long is coming out." Luocho looked behind Luo Dance. The little butterfly subconsciously turned around to look, but there was no one behind her and no one came out. But when she looked back, Luocho and Nero were gone. Luo Dance pouted her lips and put away the plate. But she suddenly thought of something. "Oh no, I forgot to ask the boss to bring some back for you. Luo Dance, you really don't have a good memory." She knocked on her head. But at this moment, Luo Dance saw Long Shirua, the real Long Shirua, whose face seemed to say, "I'm very unhappy now." Sister Long, you've grown up." Luo Dance widened her eyes. Kelowna Shinryu was even more unhappy. She said angrily, "I've always been this big." "So the boss went to find you just now." Luo Dance suddenly understood. No wonder the boss said he had finished his business. It turned out to be this. 2 blue veins appeared on Kelowna Shinryu West's forehead. "Don't mention this profiteer in front of me again." Long Shirua pinched Luo Dance's mouth without saying anything. "If you mention him again, I'll punish you with no milk for a month." Sister Long was so terrible, unprecedentedly terrible. Master Long, you've recovered." Fortunately, Ghost Baby appeared in time and let Luo Dance escape from the dragon's claws. She patted her cheek gently. Long Shirua glanced at Ghost Baby. What he had been in contact with recently was mostly Long Shirua's childhood. now that the true dragon of godly land had truly returned. That kind of power once again made Ghost Baby feel as if he had returned to the past. He quickly lowered his head. Where are Chichikamaya and that stinky girl? Master Turtle and Princess went. They went out to deal with something. Forget it. I know where they went even if you don't tell me. Long Shirua snorted. Then a golden light flashed on her body and she broke through the villa. She turned into a golden dragon and rushed to the sky. After she left, a golden light shrouded the whole villa. Stay here and don't leave this boundary. No one can touch you except that profiteer. Ghost Baby walked out of the door and knocked on the boundary. Then he sighed. He didn't know whether it was good or bad that Shinryu regained his strength. Sister, you and Lord Long, please don't fight. The golden dragon rushed into the thick fog. Wherever it passed, the fog retreated. In the cold night, the stars were bright and the moon was clear. The golden dragon swam between the mountains and rivers, as if it brought vitality to all things. On the ground, the yellow-robed man stopped and looked up at the golden dragon in the moonlight. He was speechless for a long time. Your Honor, the true dragon of the divine prefecture is really terrifying. Even if it swam past, I can't summon the slightest thought of fighting against it. Gong Fanqing, who was beside him, smiled bitterly. The earth vein is moving. The yellow-robed man withdrew his gaze and walked slowly into the dark forest. Big brother, look. On the ground, Mo Xiaofei and Juefeng, who were secretly protecting a group of people, looked up at the sky. As a member of the monster race, Juefeng could easily feel the supreme power of Shinryu. It's Master. Mo Xiaofei's face lit up. Master must be here to deal with this matter. Let's follow him and see if there's anything we can help with. Oh, okay. In the end, Wind-Chasing Wolf was more playful. He had been secretly protecting the humans along the way. How could it be more exciting than following the true dragon of the divine land to see what was going on ahead? What's that? Song Howren stared at the golden light that flashed across the night sky. He did not know why, but at this moment he had an impulse to worship the heavens. This impulse arose spontaneously as if it was his nature, and he even felt his legs go soft. Princess Chuyang, who was meditating beside him, opened her eyes and looked into the distance. She said softly, "The dragon's roar shakes the sky. Since the dragon god has appeared, there will be eternal peace. It seems that the matter here is almost over." Song Howren looked at Princess Chuyang in surprise. He was waiting for an explanation. Obviously, Chuyang's words didn't meet his expectations. What you see is Kelowna's guardian, Kelowna Shinryu. It's passed down from an era longer than what you know. Huaxia is under the protection of Shinryu. All you need to know is that as long as the true dragon stands on the earth, it is invincible. Even if the immortals come, they can only return with regret. Dragon. At least it was the dragon this ancient princess was talking about. Song Howren just saw it. Young Master Song's eyes sparkled as he looked at Princess Chuyang. Princess, do immortals really exist in this world? Princess Chuyang was silent for a moment before saying slowly, yes. Crouching Dragon Villa. Crouching Dragon Villa was in ruins because of the battle between Momo and Tianexan of the 71 generations. Bisex Villa. Lai Kaixing looked at the night sky silently as he sensed the overwhelming aura. He didn't look away even when the golden dragon passed by. That's Shinryu. Miss Gong focused and said solemnly, after hiding for so long, she is finally willing to show herself. What should come will come sooner or later. Lai Kaixing said indifferently, but the timing of her appearance is far beyond my expectation. She should have appeared earlier. Could it be that the true dragon has noticed something? She's heading to the peak of Mount Tai. Lai Kaixing shook his head. At this moment, the thick fog had dispersed. At least, the thick fog had dispersed wherever the true dragon passed. Although the source of the fog was still shrouded in it, At least there was still a bright moonlit night. The constellation is dim, and the arrangement is like an illusion. Lai Kaixing muttered. It's as if an invisible hand is arranging every position of the constellation, arranging everything in this world. Just born? Miss Gong looked at him in surprise. She rarely, or rather, never saw such an expression on Lai Caixing's face. Confusion. There was a deep confusion on his face. As if there's a will. You mean the heavenly Tao? Lai Kaixing was silent for a moment and shook his head. Maybe above. At the same time, the door behind him opened. Du Lin walked out with a pale face. Du Lin knelt behind Lai Kaixing. Your Honor, it's done. Thank you for your hard work, Du Lin. Lai Kaixing nodded. Another figure slowly walked out of the room. Tian Xin 71. At this time, Tian Xin 71 no longer looked old. He was at least 20 to 30 years younger. He looked like a man in his 40s. It's almost midnight, Tian Xin 71 said slowly. Get ready to open the altar. On the peak of Mount Tai, the fierce battle was still ongoing. Although there were many experts on the side of the joint forces, they couldn't cooperate in the battle. Their enemies, on the other hand, were all unafraid of death. They directly burned their spirit and released the final sparks one after another. There was also the battle formation of the 36 Big Dipper generals from Xianyuan Palace. Both sides were evenly matched. Gray Cloud Heaven, you old fellows really dare to fight with your lives on the line. The 4 heavenly spirit clans had always been blessed by the heavens. Even though these old fellows had already passed their peak, they didn't hesitate to burn their remaining life force in exchange for great power that surpassed their peak. On the contrary, Fire Cloud, Evil God, seemed to be in a passive position. He couldn't unleash his full strength here. Tiger Soul Saber was fully unleashed. That was a power that he couldn't completely control. It hurt others and hurt himself. Moreover, the mastermind hadn't shown up yet. He couldn't possibly waste a lot of his power here. Fire Cloud, there's no point in saying more. We're already unafraid of death. In this battle, if we don't succeed, we'll die for a righteous cause. There's no other choice. Annoying. The battle continued. The 4 heavenly spirit, great demons, didn't plan to completely defeat Fire Cloud, Evil God. Instead, they were determined to completely hold him back. At this moment, Yen Xiaoxi was observing the entire battle. The situation was very unfavorable for her side. Among the joint forces, the Taoist sect didn't even have 80% of the strength. However, the demon clans clearly felt powerless. Section Chief, if this goes on, I'm afraid our people will be tortured to death by these silver-armored fellows. What about the other 3 Kingdom Knights? Yen Xiaoxi asked softly. They have already arrived at the agreed position. His subordinates quickly responded. Yen Xiaoxi nodded, then said in a low voice, Everyone, equip yourselves with Godfall bullets. Remember, the capital city is behind us. The revival of spiritual energy, this time, can't be replicated. The capital city will be destroyed by the explosion of spiritual energy. So don't miss a single bullet. Understood, the subordinate replied loudly. Then he pressed the wireless headset. Everyone, prepare your bullets. I don't care if you're sharpshooters or just lucky. Don't miss a single bullet. Otherwise, I'll deduct 3 years of your salary. After saying that, he looked at Yen Xiaoxi. Section Chief, is this okay? Yen Xiaoxi looked at him and suddenly slapped the pistol that she had just loaded onto his hand. She said calmly, same for you. Don't miss. Okay. Yen Xiaoxi didn't care about the sullen expression on his face. She took a modified AWM from another subordinate and aimed it at the sky. In the sky, there was the battle between Fire Cloud, Evil God, Mr. Blind, and the 4 giant demons. Yen Xiaoxi steadily pulled the trigger, and the bullet was shot out instantly. The loud gunshot didn't cover the momentum of the battle on the peak of Mount Tai. Puff! It instantly shot Kenji Unshin's arm. At first, Kenji Unshin didn't care about the bullet that was shot at him. He heard that the administration had developed a powerful Taoist bullet, but that level of power didn't pose any threat to Kanjianshin. He subconsciously waved his hand to hit it. However, when the bullet hit his palm, it actually shot out instantly and continued to shoot into his arm. The moment the bullet shot into his body, Kanjianshin's expression changed drastically. That enormous demonic power was now burning like oil that had been ignited. This burning didn't give him any impetus. Instead, it caused his demonic power to rapidly evaporate. At this moment, the Tiger Soul Saber in Fire Cloud, Evil God's hand, slashed toward him. Kanjianshin, whose demonic power was rapidly evaporating, couldn't block it. He was directly struck down by the saber and crashed into the stone tablet of the pilgrimage platform. In the karst cave, the furnace hidden in the sacrificial altar exploded in a split second. The entire sacrificial altar was destroyed by the violent power. In the deep red vortex of spiritual power, Gong Sun Shiyu's naked body could be seen. His hair had also turned crimson. Finally, Gong Sun Shiyu slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, his pupils were pitch black. Chapter 1150. Rumble. In a split second, the pilgrimage platform, which was 10 times bigger than the one before, suddenly collapsed. The shattering power started spreading from the place where Tsang Yuntian crashed into the stone tablet. Even so, Tsang Yuntian still rushed out from the large amount of shattered rocks, but at this time there was a terrifying wound from his left shoulder to his chest. This was the wound caused by the unparalleled sharpness of the Tiger Soul Blade, and blood kept flowing out. Tsang Yuntian's demonic power, because of the bullet, instantly evaporated by more than half. But the consumption of demonic power had already stopped. This thing could break spells and burn demonic power and magic power, but it didn't seem to be unlimited. It was just that Tsang Yuntian didn't want to take a second bullet. But even so, his current combat power had already seriously decreased, and it wasn't even 30% of what it was before he started burning his own divine soul. Before his strength decreased, he even needed to work with the other 3 huge demons of the 4 heavenly spirits to suppress the joint forces of Fire Cloud, Evil God, and Mr. Blind. Now that Tsang Yuntian's strength had decreased, he became the weak point. The formation of the 4 huge demons of the 4 heavenly spirits was instantly weakened. The battlefield was constantly changing. Every minute and every second was extremely precious, and there was even the possibility of turning the situation around. Fire Cloud, Evil God, and Mr. Blind were the people who understood this momentary chance of victory at the same time. Blind, use your true ability. Those below, scatter for me. In the sky, Fire Cloud, Evil God's enormous true power was emitted, and a loud tiger roar resounded from the Tiger's soul blade. 7 limits, second style, Earth extermination. At this moment, the Tiger's soul blade's edge split the earth, and actually split the entire pilgrimage platform into 2 halves, directly splitting the peak of Mount Tai. On the earth, the supreme blade power caused cracks to spread in all directions like a spider web, and the disaster spread to the entire Mount Tai. The mountain crazily trembled, as if it had encountered an earthquake. At this moment, both sides were unable to find a foothold. Moreover, countless Tiger Soul Blade beams shot out from the cracks that were like a spider web, crazily pouring towards all the living people. Old man, you lunatic, I knew you wouldn't know your place. In the distance, the usually refined Mr. Blind couldn't help but curse. You really think I'm a living immortal? Even though he said that, Mr. Blind, who had already opened his eyes, still raised both his hands at the same time. The scattered sword shadows in the sky all returned, and in the end, they gathered before him to form an ancient sword. Then Mr. Blind clenched his fingers into the shape of a sword. Unsheath. The sword shadows that had fused into ancient swords shot out once more, but this time the sword shadows were no longer attacking the 4 heavenly spirits, but retreating to the front of the combined forces. Every sword silhouette offset the Tiger Soul Saber aura gushing out from the fissure in the ground for the people of the joint forces. Rumble. At this moment, the peak of Mount Tai was trembling violently. The powerful fighters who had the ability to block the tiger soul saber glare in the crack all flew into the air, and these saber glances were just the aftershocks. The might of the Seven Limits, second style, Earth extermination was mainly concentrated on the 4 spirits of the heavens, led by Ash Cloud Sky. At this moment, the 4 spirits of the heavens seemed to have arrived at a mountain of sabers. At this moment, their bodies were directly penetrated by tens of thousands of saber glances. In the distance, Su Zijuan, who was quietly watching the battle, watched every move of the fire cloud evil god with her pair of beautiful eyes flickering with dark red light. It seems that this guy didn't use his full strength 1 year ago. Su Zijuan narrowed her eyes. The successor of Chiyu. The violent fluctuations caused the summit of Mount Tai to collapse in a flash. The crumbling mountain was as if the mountaintop had been shaved off. The might of the fire cloud evil god's blade had actually caused the summit of Mount Tai to be lowered by no less than several dozen meters. Fortunately, Mr. Blind, Qing Xiaozi, did his best to counteract the attack, so the combined forces didn't die under the horrifying saber light of the fire cloud evil god that couldn't distinguish between friend and foe. However, many of them were injured. At the same time, the 4 heavenly spirits of the heavens had already died under the power of the earth extermination. The 4 of them were now standing on top of the shattered rocks like statues. The moment the wind blew, these 4 Kelowna spirits of the heavens were instantly turned into ashes. Not far away, Song Jinchue and Chu Xinghe, who saw this scene with their own eyes, suddenly had a huge change in expression. Song Jinchue's eyes instantly turned crimson red as he stared at the fire cloud evil god in the sky who was holding the tiger soul saber. Waves of true power surged like an invincible war god. He clenched his teeth and suddenly took a step forward. In just one step, Song Jinchue's arm was grabbed by someone. Chu Xinghe was behind him and directly blocked him. Chu Xinghe, do you believe that I won't destroy you too? A low and angry voice spat out from Song Jinchue's throat. If you walk out now, it's the same as saying that you are Fire Cloud's enemy and everyone's enemy. Can you beat him? Chu Xinghe's voice was cold. The enmity of killing my father. Absolutely irreconcilable. Even if I die, my master will also die. Chu Xinghe took a deep breath. Do you think I don't hate him? But look at the situation, clearly. You and I are in power in the same clan, so we need to consider the clansmen behind us. Let me ask you, if you anger this old man, his butcher's knife will be pointed at you and my clansmen. Who can stop him? The administration wasn't weak. The administration could have ordinary staff, unarmed researchers, and a single soldier couldn't even compare to a Taoist demon. However, since Xan started, it wasn't only the binding contract that had been suppressing the Taoist demon, but also the most powerful man in China, Fire Cloud, evil god. Did you think that he killed his way from the east of Changbai to the south of the South Sea, and from the east of the East Sea to the Highlands for a full 3 years, just for fun? This enmity is absolutely irreconcilable. One day, I will definitely tear Fire Cloud apart. Song Jinchue punched the huge rock in front of him, immediately creating a loud rumble. Don't worry, I won't let it go just like that. Chu Xinghe took a deep breath and also looked at the old man who could not defeat him. At this moment, Fire Cloud, evil god, was motionless in the air. Below him, in the collapsed mountain, there was a blazing white light shining. It was the 36 Big Dipper generals of the Shenyuan Palace. At this moment, the 36 Big Dipper generals gathered in an arrow-shaped formation and rushed to the sky. But the moment they rushed to the sky, Yan Xiaoxi had already organized the people below. The agents of the administration had already loaded their bullets. When Yan Xiaoxi gave the order, the Godfall bullets, which had the power to break spells, poured out in torrents. The power of the Godfall bullets had been proven more than once. At this moment, under the attack of dozens of Godfall bullets, the protective true force of the 36 Big Dipper generals of the Xianyuan Palace instantly melted. These 36 unparalleled generals had never encountered such a strange thing. The power that they had painstakingly cultivated for hundreds of years disappeared into thin air at this moment. The sudden change caused the powerful Big Dipper battle formation to collapse, before the 36 generals rushed to the front of Fire Cloud Evil God. Fire Cloud Evil God slashed horizontally with a saber, and they all fell into the mountain. At this moment, on the collapsed mountain, the opposing black-clothed Tao demons were either lying on the ground or struggling to hold on. At this moment, the man with the broken wrist broke through the crushed rocks on his body and rushed out. He raised his head and looked at the Fire Cloud Evil God. A trace of shock flashed through his eyes. Such martial power, why doesn't it belong to the Xianyuan Palace? The successor of Qiyu, could it be that the cycle of karma is going to collide again in this life? While he was pondering, a saber light swept past him. This saber light instantly slashed a crack that was more than 100 meters long on his side. The man with the broken wrist broke out in cold sweat. The cold voice of the Fire Cloud Evil God resounded. I have also destroyed this pilgrimage platform. If you have the ability, then make the 7th Jade Dragon Pillar appear. What's the matter? Where's your leader now? Where's Tianxan? Are you a coward who doesn't dare to come out and see me? The man with the broken wrist broke out in cold sweat, but at the same time he felt a strange fluctuation. The eyes of the man with the broken wrist suddenly lit up. Soon after, he laughed loudly and said, "The martial power of the Fire Cloud Evil God is unrivaled. The Tao demons of Kelowna are unrivaled. I admire you, I admire you. Enough with the nonsense." The Fire Cloud Evil God snorted coldly and chopped down with his saber. The activation of the Tiger Soul Saber was not unlimited. He needed to use the power of the Tiger Soul Saber to accomplish the most things in a limited amount of time. At this moment, the saber aura descended. Before the edge of the saber arrived, the wind generated by the saber had already cut open the bronze mask of the man with the broken wrist, revealing his true appearance, Gongsun Jishui. Facing the incomparable saber light, Gongsun Jishui was unable to summon up any strength to resist. His face was filled with shock, and Gongsun Jishui slowly closed his eyes. At this moment, a red light flickered and blocked in front of him. Within the red light, a naked man with red hair and a face filled with evil aura could be seen. Facing the sharp saber aura of the Fire Cloud Evil God, the red-haired man smiled evilly and extended his hand. He actually used 2 fingers to receive the edge of the Tiger Soul Saber. "It's you." After receiving this saber attack, the Fire Cloud Evil God's expression changed slightly. He instantly pulled back his saber and landed 10 meters away. The Fire Cloud Evil God's expression kept changing. This red-haired man was the Gongsun clan's Gongsun Shiu, whom he had met in front of the 6th Jade Dragon Pillar, who was able to control part of the power of the Xianyuan sword. However, the current Gongsun Shiu gave the Fire Cloud Evil God an evil feeling that was completely different from the past. At this moment, Gongsun Shiu put down his fingers and said proudly, "Among the humans, you are extremely outstanding. Although the power of the Tiger Soul Saber is extraordinary, it is not easy to control its power. To be able to activate the Tiger Soul Saber to such an extent, you should be proud. You are not him. What are you?" The Fire Cloud Evil God waved a saber and pointed at Gongsun Shiu, who was 10 meters away. "What a pity, what a pity." Gongsun Shiu shook his head. "What a pity for the Tiger Soul Saber. What did you say?" Gongsun Shiu sneered. This supreme demonic saber was originally used by Demon Emperor Qiyu. Since it is the Demon Emperor's saber, how can one unleash its full power without becoming a demon? I say it's a pity because this amber demonic saber actually met a kind owner. It's really a pity. The Fire Cloud Evil God snorted coldly. Master. At this moment, Yan Xiaoxi and her subordinates rushed forward. The agents of the agency all set up their guns and cannons and aimed them at Gong Sun Shiu. Yan Xiaoxi did not hesitate and immediately gave the order to open fire. The god-killing bullets were about to be fired. Gong Sun Shishui's expression changed. Shiu, these bullets are strange. They can evaporate our power. No Taoist technique or skill can block them. Gong Sun Shiu tilted his head and frowned slightly. However, at this moment, gunshots rang out one after another. Can't block them. Gong Sun Shiu snorted coldly. I want to see if they can't even block the wind. He immediately waved his hand. At this moment, dozens of god-killing bullets were already in front of Gong Sun Shiu. In a flash, a whirlwind suddenly rose from under Gong Sun Shiu's feet and swept the dozens of god-killing bullets into the whirlwind. I'll return them to you. Gong Sun Shiu waved his hand again, and the god-killing bullets in the whirlwind were pushed back by another force and shot out in the opposite direction. Their speed was not slower than when they came. In fact, it was even faster. All of this happened in just a second. The dozens of god-killing bullets returned to where they came from. The agents of the agency who were armed with guns and cannons were directly hit by a god-killing bullet. Individually, they were not strong. Most of them cultivated their magic power, and a small number of them were martial cultivators. However, they were not strong enough to withstand the terrifying burning characteristic of the god-killing bullets. Other than Fire, Cloud, Evil God, and Yan Xiaoxi, everyone fell down at this moment. Yan Xiaoxi was shocked. The use of the god-killing bullets was not without consideration of its weakness. If the bullet could not hit its target, it would be useless. This was its innate weakness. It could break through any Taoist technique defense, demonic power barrier, and even true power's protective aura, but it could not block pure physical obstacles. This red-haired man could actually make the high-speed bullets turn back just by using pure wind power. Just as Yan Xiaoxi was shocked and bewildered, Fire Cloud, Evil God, moved. He held his saber and dashed out in a flash. On the Tiger Soul saber, a blood-like glow gushed out, and a horrifying tiger roar sounded. Gong Sun Shiu chuckled and grabbed with his hand. On the ground, a golden sword shadow instantly fell into his palm. Gong Sun Shiu waved the golden sword shadow and blocked it, softly blocking the slash of the Tiger Soul saber. However, on the golden sword shadow, a gap suddenly appeared. The Fire Cloud, Evil God, let out a loud roar. With the Tiger Soul saber in his hand, he forcefully slashed apart the golden sword shadow. I've said it before. You can't stop me with just a sword light. Just as the Tiger Soul saber was about to slash Gong Sun Shiu's forehead, Gong Sun Shiu let out a strange laugh. He suddenly waved his left hand. On his left hand, there was also a golden sword shadow. In an instant, Fire Cloud, Evil God's eyes widened. At this moment, his abdomen was cut open by the golden sword shadow. Gong Sun Shiu gave a side kick and directly threw Fire Cloud, Evil God, dozens of meters away. The Tiger Soul saber fell to the ground and disappeared in an instant. Gong Sun Shiu sneered and said, "Who told you that I can only use one god-killing sword shadow? Shiu, the power of your bloodline?" Behind him, Gong Sun Jishui looked at Gong Sun Shiu's back with a surprised expression and opened his mouth. Gong Sun Shiu tilted his head slightly and said with a faint smile, "Bloodline evolution. You don't tell me you still don't know? Isn't this what you want?" Gong Sun Jishui's expression changed slightly. He opened his mouth, and a trace of fear appeared on his face. However, Gong Sun Shiu didn't continue speaking. He only sneered and looked at the distant horizon. The time has come. The time had come. Gong Sun Shiu's body floated up into the sky without any wind. The entire Mount Tai started to shake again. Gong Sun Shiu opened his hands. Below him, the ground suddenly split open. Along with the shaking of the mountain, a crystal pillar slowly emerged from the ground. That crystal pillar was emitting a rainbow light. Within the crystal pillar, a small figure could be faintly seen. It seemed to be a child less than 10 years old. At this moment, along with the appearance of this crystal pillar, 6 huge, white light pillars suddenly shot up into the sky from different directions in the area outside Mount Tai. The 6 pillars of light appeared at the same location as the 6 jade dragon pillars from before. The 6 enormous white pillars of light were gathering in the sky, and the center of their gathering was right above Gong Sun Shiyu. At the same time, the crystal pillar also shot out a white light. The white light pierced through Gong Sun Shiyu's body and finally reached the highest point, where the other 6 light pillars converged. Don't even think about opening the earth spirit vein. Under the dazzling light, a figure soared into the sky. It was Mr. Blind. Mr. Blind's eyes had completely turned into golden fragments. At this moment, he held the ancient sword in his hand and became one with it, turning into a huge sword beam. It wasn't just Mr. Blind. The heavily injured fire cloud, evil god, endured the wound on his abdomen. He gritted his teeth and punched towards the sky. The 2 of you, 100 Tribulations, is here to help you. Another figure broke through the sky. It was the Taoist on the peak of Kunlun who only wanted to drink tea and watch the leisurely clouds. President, me too! Taoist Huanyang chanted, and his magic power surged. He held the 7-star sword and charged towards Gong Sun Shiyu. Grandpa, I'm coming too! Bastard! One after another, figures soared into the sky from different places from the shattered mountain. Not only were there people from Taoism, but there were also demons from all over the place. More than 100, more than 200 figures. They all transformed into streams of light and formed a terrifying joint attack, all for the sake of dealing with Gong Sun Shiyu, who was in the light pillar. One by one. In the light pillar, Gong Sun Shiyu's expression was ferocious. He suddenly laughed maniacally, his red hair disheveled. Dozens of years ago, you blocked me once. Do you want to do it again? Die! Gong Sun Shiyu suddenly opened his arms. Billowing black fog shot out from his hands. The black fog extended and transformed into 2 huge shadows. They were dragons. 2 gigantic shadow dragons. At this moment, the 2 shadow dragons roared towards the sky. Their might overshadowed that of everyone else. You are Long Sha from back then. Mr. Blind cried out in shock. He recognized the monster that he had created with his own hands several decades ago. Qing Xiaozi, let's finish the unfinished business between us. Ha 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 ha. Gong Sun Shiyu moved his arms, and the 2 shadow dragons instantly swam in the sky. The swaying shadow dragons were like whips, sweeping down the figures that soared into the sky one after another. Puff! 100 Tribulations, Taoist, spat out a mouthful of blood as he was swept down by the shadow dragons and fell down one after another. At this moment, the 2 shadow dragons danced wildly in the sky. Below them, Kelowna and the other Tao demons fell to the ground one after another. The severely injured fire cloud, evil god, was swept to the ground. Only Mr. Blind was left, fighting bitterly with one of the shadow dragons. Seniors, it's up to you. On the ground, the severely injured Yen Xiaoxi struggled to get up. He pressed the communication device and issued the final order. What is that? Unlike Fire Cloud, Evil God, the other 3 Matchless State scholars always had other missions. That was to carry the Godfall bullets, main material that they had rushed out in a short amount of time, a final method specially made from the Godfall bullets, main material. The black dragons danced wildly, and the Tao demons fell one after another. The 3 unparalleled state warriors were drenched in cold sweat. We've received Yen Xiaoxi's order. Soldier Elite said in a deep voice, it's up to us now. Let's hope that we can survive this calamity. Bai Hua sighed and looked at the other 2 people who had accompanied her for many years. Her expression was solemn, but at this moment, a huge black shadow quietly climbed above their heads. Enemy! Soldier Elite reacted immediately. The shadow that appeared before them like a mountain was actually a huge turtle shell. Rumble. The turtle shell was instantly pressed down. An old voice sighed and said, I'm sorry. I've offended you guys. It hurts so much. At this moment, the mountain-like tortoise shell was trembling nonstop. A layer of frost was spreading from the bottom of the shell to the top. Respect the old and cherish the young. But no matter what, the agency's last resort wasn't used at this moment. In the night sky, the 7 light pillars converged into a point and turned into a light source that illuminated everything. At this moment, the entire Mount Tai was as white as day. Why are the state warriors still not making a move? Yan Xiaoxi calculated the time, but the final resort didn't appear. This made her heart sink. Could it be that something happened? At this moment, in this light, a sword that seemed to be formed by white flames slowly appeared from the converging point and descended bit by bit. Terra Spirit Sword. Gong Sun Shiu laughed maniacally. The key to opening the 1,000-year-old spiritual energy veins. Ha 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 ha. He instantly grabbed the Terra Spirit Sword along with the white light pillar. Don't even think about it. At this moment, Mr. Blind spat out a mouthful of blood on the ancient sword and shot up into the sky again. Qing Xiaozi, you really think I don't dare to kill you? Gong Sun Shiu snorted coldly and opened his mouth to spit out a black beam of light. This beam of light directly broke through Mr. Blind's ancient sword and pierced through his body, knocking him down. Who dares to stop me? Gong Sun Shiu's voice echoed on the peak of Mount Tai. At this moment, he was only tens of meters away from the Terra Spirit Sword. Perhaps it was just a matter of a breath. But at this moment, a golden light came from the horizon. The golden light that covered the sky and the earth was now on par with the white light of spiritual energy. At the same time, a dragon's roar resounded through the sky. The dragon's roar seemed to have brought a new wave of energy to everyone, and a sudden surge of excitement. Golden clouds appeared, and within the clouds a golden dragon's shadow moved. It was Kelowna's Shinryu. Lord Long, it's Lord Long. Lord Long Jun has finally appeared. Really, forget it. It's better than not being able to. Fire Cloud, evil god, sighed and fell to the ground. I'm so tired. The golden light spread in the sky. Su Zijuan, who was watching coldly on the ground, changed her expression and stamped her feet. Damn it, this profiteer, not only did he take the money, but he actually did it. I'm so pissed off. The princess of the Xianyuan royal family gritted her teeth, and golden light burst out of her eyes. She suddenly stabbed her hand into her chest. With a tragic cry, he pulled out a long sword condensed from golden flames. Roar! Different from the excitement of the allied forces, Gong Sun Shiu roared toward the sky with hatred and anger. Shinryu, you can't stop me. You can't stop me. Humph! The huge golden dragon's shadow in the sky swam down. Her target was also the Earthen Spirit Sword, and her speed was even faster than Gong Sun Shiu's. Seeing that Shinryu was faster than Gong Sun Shiu in obtaining the Earthen Spirit Sword, a golden sword light shot up into the sky. Instead of slashing toward Gong Sun Shiu, it slashed toward Kelowna's Shinryu. This sword light was more than 100 times stronger than Gong Sun Shiu's golden shadow. Stinky girl, you dare! The god-slaying sword must appear today. Don't be a busybody. In the face of this terrifying sword light, even the true dragon could not remain indifferent. She curled her body, and at the same time, the golden sword light slashed her body. The golden scales exploded, and a shrill dragon's roar sounded. The sword light only made Shinryu feel pain, but didn't really hurt Kelowna's Shinryu. However, this momentary obstruction allowed the Earthen Spirit Sword to fall into Gong Sun Shiu's hands. With the Earthen Spirit Sword in his hand, Gong Sun Shiu fell down like a meteor. The Earthen Spirit Sword instantly broke through Mount Tai and finally it sank into the depths of the earth and disappeared. At this moment, everything stopped. At this moment, a tremor began to surge out from the earth. The surrounding mountains shook violently, and the mountains started to crack. In the sky, the wind and clouds changed color. When Mr. Blind saw this scene, he knelt down on the ground with a thud. He had seen this scene before. When he was changing the year, he had used the method of stealing the sky and swapping the sun. He had taken a huge risk and peeked at it. In the end, it still came, the war of the end of the world. A ray of light broke out from the depths of the earth. The earth's spiritual energy that had been stored for 2,000 years finally broke out from the earth.